Hey, welcome to Kinky Clocktower. I'm here with Hosian and Sandwiches, and we have a script contest that's going on in our server. These are the two secret judges. Super secret. So, they're revealed. They're revealed now. He's got his mask off. So we had the Summoner just got released, and we decided I was not having any inspiration making a script at the time. I really wanted to see what the people in the server could come up with, and this is kind of the result of inbreeding, if you will, of fucking script creation. There's some good ones, and then there's some scripts that are definitely qualify as a script. So with that, we're going to start going through them. We're going to list each of these scripts. We're going to pull them out. We're going to look at the write-up, and then we're going to kind of talk through our thoughts. And at the end of this, I think we're going to have a good spot on who we think should deserve the title of Kinky Land Script Champion, or whatever the fuck we're calling it. What is it? The world champion of Kinky Land scripts?
You come up with that, I don't know.
All right. Anyway, we got Alexis's up. Let's pull up her write-up real quick. Okay, Alexis has a summoner on here. So her comments are, it's heavy on the confirmation, but that confirmation could go up in smoke on night 3. Yeah, I like that. Is it a summoner game? Did a Poe charge night 2 to unleash death on town the following night? Did a crafty alchemist summoner decide on chaos and choose to summon Legion? Oh, we fucking seen that. Only be burned. Surely didn't have too much to drink last night. Feels like a stab at somebody. I doubt the poisoner would target the owl hat on night 2 to hide another minion, but you could never be sure. All right, have you ever wanted to see two owl heads go head to head? No, I have not. But I'm glad that's on there. Or perhaps once you complete a summon, you change hats and decide to start making town mad. Blah, blah, blah. There's some more like color funny stuff going on, but that's the gist of the script, and I think it's kind of a good overview. What are your thoughts?
First of all, overview on Summoner. Do we want to go over?
Yeah, go for it, Sandwiches.
Okay, Summoner. There's no starting demon. The Summoner gets 3 bluffs. On the 3rd night, they choose a player. That person becomes an evil demon of their choice, whatever demons are on the script. I think a lot of people... Personally, I like this minion. It's a minion that warps any script it's on because, like you heard in the write-up here, any confirmation rolls, night 1, even mechanically confirmed like a virgin or something, are now suddenly demon, suspects later in the game if they're still alive. I like minions that are, that mess up town a lot because it's fun to have no stakes. Although this is a weird minion where you have the same stakes as the demon for a while, and then you also are making a demon, and it's just as nerve-wracking as if you're playing the demon itself. So this is in a weird spot in that way, but I love these social style evil players, like evil characters where you're reading the players more than you're reading what's going on in the game specifically.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good summary on where it sits. Hosian, I don't know if you have any big thoughts on how you feel about this minion. I think you played in a few games with it now.
I don't think I have anything additional to what Sandwiches said.
Fair enough. My thoughts on Summoner are definitely that it feels like people are trying to play around this night 2 no death situation a lot. And you're going to see a lot of that on these scripts. I think generally you see an assassin godfather situation with the Summoner plus something else. And I've seen either Poisoner, I've seen Goblin, I've seen Serenovus, those kind of things. It is a quiet minion for the most part. You don't actually know if it's in play. The only way you can confirm that a Summoner is in play, I think, is by you getting summoned, right? Directly.
Well, certain scripts could be set up to where if no deaths happen, if nobody gets nommed and executed, and then there are no deaths, depending on the script, you could know for a fact it's a Summoner game.
But overall, this is a quiet minion. It falls in the same vein as all of the Trouble Brewing minions, and for the most part, the BMR minions on BMR, because obviously the deaths are kind of masked by other things happening. So, okay, cool. Good overview, I think, of that situation, and I agree with all the thoughts that have been kind of thrown out there so far. So what does a Summoner do to a script? Well, on here, the idea is the ambiguity of who the demon is, if there even is a demon on night 1, night 2, and then where that demon can end up. So what it allows you to do is have these confirmation rolls out there, like the Virgin, like the Professor and
Night Watchman.
Yeah, Night Watchman. And while those mechanically had worked, that player might now be the evil demon come night 3. So it actually adds a little bit to, we have this saying, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
You lose it.
You'll lose it. Well, now you might not want to use it, because if you just survive to night 3 and use it, you're confirmed not the demon. So if I get a Night Watchman ping on night 3, I'm like, what? Who's this fucking crazy guy? That's kind of wild. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with it. I guess we could start going over our notes for this script, Alexis's script. Wonderful Alexis. If you guys have seen any plastic goodies at a Clocktower Con convention, they were probably from Alexis. So let's go through our thoughts here. So do you guys want me to just do mine and then you guys jump in at whatever?
Go ahead. I think we usually go down and bottom up, right?
Yeah.
That's how I usually look at
Yeah,
scripts.
let's do it. Okay, so my thoughts, I organized all my thoughts after this script. This is the first script that I looked at, and I did not organize them based on like minion townsfolk. My general idea would be I look at the minions first, even though this is a summoner script, even if it wasn't. I look at the minions first, then I see how the demons work, then I look at the outsiders, and the townsfolk kind of fill in all of the empty spots there to make sure everything's compatible. So my thoughts on this one. I have strong thoughts on the Alhad as a demon.
Yeah, let's hear it. Get it out there.
Depending on the script, and this is one of them, a Legion world is way different from a Poe and an Alhad world. As soon as I hear an Alhad announcement, I'm like, thank God, like I know that these people are not Legion. So my voting is back to whatever. Alternatively, if I don't hear the Alhad announcement, right? Well, I know there's no Alhad in play, so it's either a Poe or a Legion. So it does this thing where worlds disappear, and I don't think that's strong script building replayability. I think it's a gimmick. That's my thoughts. That's why I don't like the Alhad with this specific minion. If it was a Pit Hag, that's a whole different beast, right? Pit Hag can do it again and go back and forth. The summoner is a one shot. This is the demon. Also, an Alhad coming in on night 3, right? Unless you're every game putting a poisoner in there. There was no Alhad to start the game, meaning there was no demon to start the game. You have no idea if a Poe is like sinking kills or if Legion, like the storyteller's giving you a summoner game. You know it's a summoner game unless the poisoner is in every single game with the Alhad. That lowers the replayability for me.
I think
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think my only issue, I'm okay with Summoner creating Alhad mid-game. It does lower worlds, but I think I don't know, for me personally, the craziness of an Alhad just makes the games harder to solve because you're also playing the prisoner's dilemma of, do I want to live, do I want to die? So I think the narrower worlds is an issue. My issue is you can almost never have a starting Alhad game because then it's just an Alhad game, and then you know the summoner's not in play at that point unless it's specifically the alchemists, and I think that narrow world is not interesting. But I do think it's okay for a summoner to make an Alhad later. Just because of how I feel about the Alhad being, zany and just a weird one.
Yeah, and that's 100% totally fair. Hosian, I don't know if you have any like thoughts on the Alhad with Summoner. I've already dumped my fucking butt cheeks all over
I
it.
think you guys explained everything about it. I don't think there's anything for me to add.
What side do you lean on, though? What do you want? Do you want to see Alhads with Summoner, or do you think it's too narrow?
No.
Yeah.
I think I personally prefer to play a game where I'm trying to figure out what minions are in play and what demons are in play, and the ones that are just very obvious. Not only is it obvious if it's an Alhad game, it's obvious if it's a Summoner game, and that really just narrow worlds both the minion and demon front.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you're locking in. You're 100% right, because if you hear an Alhad on night 3, it's either a poisoner or a summoner game. That's one minion already gone, right? If you could just if you figure out it's a summoner game, okay, and then you see maybe a kill on a night where nobody was executed and it looks like an assassin, cool. There's no Godfather in play. The outsider count is locked where it's at.
Yeah.
There's no psychopath. You don't even have to worry about it. It's never coming in. Stuff like that is why this would be a weaker situation. But anyway.
Now, Legion, though, on the other hand, I think works really well with Summoner.
Yes,
one of the
Legion.
one of the main things with Summoner is the demon that gets made doesn't know their evil team. And all of Legion will be woken up individually. And
Can you explain how the Summoner makes Legion?
So when the summoner makes a legion, the currently evil players will become part of legion, and then the storyteller chooses any amount of players that makes sense for the what's going on in the game to also be legion. But they won't be only the two or three starting original evil will become legion and know they're legion. The others won't. So then you've basically got a half Poppy Grower Legion game going on, with what was once confirmable mechanical worlds now just thrown into chaos because no one knows whether they should vote or not. It's very interesting to play in. It's a really paranoia-inducing game, and I think it works really well with what the summoner does.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think the script is completely different if you remove the Owl Hat and put like a poisoning type demon, and now we have so many worlds to build. But that's just kind of where I'm at. I do know Alexis specifically will not remove the Owl Hat. Alexis loves the Owl Hat on this script, so I respect that. Got to stand your ground, damn it. Don't listen to fucking Kinky Joe. He doesn't know shit. Anyway.
I would play this, yes. And I have played this script. And
we played this script, I think, twice, maybe 3 times in general over the server.
My brain has broken every time I've played in this script. So.
Yeah. So moving down to the outsiders, I don't see anything massively a problem here. I think my notes had said... what did they say?
You said there's something with the Moonchild.
The Moonchild is awkward.
Which is interesting.
I have notes on the Moonchild as well.
I also said that maybe replacing with the Klutz. I think a Klutz is interesting with the summoner.
And with the
because
Owl Hat.
the Klutz can they can start kind of figuring out who's good, and then on day 3, that person that they thought was good, if they died night 3, suddenly they're like, oh shoot, I don't know who's good anymore.
Yeah, if you
right, so that becomes really interesting with the Klutz. The other one that's kind of interesting is a Sweetheart. Just because there's going to be a good townsfolk turned evil, and when their information starts going bad, town can easily be like, oh, that's the person who turned to the demon. With a Sweetheart and having someone Sweetheart drunk, that's kind of an excuse for that person to be like, oh, maybe I was Sweetheart drunk, right? That's why my information started to go bad. I'm not the demon, right? So it just gives a little excuse to the demon. So interesting that you mentioned the Moonchild too. Those are my 2 replacements for that.
The interaction I think is interesting here with the Moonchild is the Moonchild can find a farmer and proc the farmer, which is crazy, but it is fun. I've been in that situation.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I hate that. Outsider helping town, that's a little too much.
Outsider helping town is, it's not, what they're made for. I do love damsels with summoners. Because you really don't want to come out as a damsel in a summoner game.
But sandwiches. What if there's a librarian that's confirming you?
Okay, again, also let's look at the townsfolk for a little bit here. We got the librarian that can see a damsel. If the librarian then becomes the summoner, it's just an immediate game over. Or if the summon gets summoned by the summoner, they become, an evil player that knows the damsel, and that's a huge problem. I do like the damsel though as an outsider on summoner scripts. I just don't think they should ever be confirmable. I think it's on the damsel player to keep it under wraps.
I would rank that as a funny factor up here, replayability down here. As soon as
if
it
you
happens
get rid of the
once,
librarian, I think it's fine.
As soon as it happens once, funny. After that, it's like, oh, this again. This is just becoming like the strategy. Just out as fucking librarian. So like,
Recluse works on all scripts. I think it's fine to put on any of these. It also creates demon worlds in the first day if there's a summoner. If you have a fortune teller or something, I think it's viable. So I think a Recluse works with everything. Drunk is always going to be fine too.
I've never seen a script where a drunk and Recluse just don't work well.
Yeah.
Like in lieu of anything else, you can start your script and put those 2 on there, and that is already fine.
Yep.
Okay. I did want to go back to the minions real quick. This is one of those scripts where I was not finding a lot of value out of having 5 minions. I do know that there's an alchemist, but it's a light thing that I'd bring up.
I looked at it and I saw that 1 was loud, and I figured that's why there was 5. I figured that with the psychopath on here, I think they wanted to keep a good balance between, being able to solve what the minions are versus not, because of the psychopath. That's just what I saw. I was like, oh, basically, if there's a loud one on here, they probably wanted to have an extra one to just make more worlds viable.
Yeah.
I will say with the psychopath on here, if the psychopath comes out on day 1 or day 2, and if someone dies in the night, it's not a summoner game, right? Because there's no townsfolk that kill like Gossip or Gambler. So the only way someone dies is if it's an assassin or Godfather. But if you already have a psychopath, and that's the other one, then it's not a summoner.
Correct.
Oh, is that one of my
kinda
notes
just-
too, right? The multi-kill,
Yeah.
it only comes from the evil side except for the Moonchild, which is like whatever. But yeah, there's no death in town for ambiguity. It's always coming from the evil team. So you're 100% dead on.
A psychopath does have an out of evil that gets sus away from the summoner for a couple days, but at the cost of really narrowing down the worlds that are existing in the game.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have any closing thoughts? Anything else on the script as a whole? Maybe the townsfolk? I think Poppy Grower is funny. I think Poppy Grower with a summoned legion is funny because then they would learn their team. But yeah,
they would. That is good. That is really good. I didn't see that. That is good.
What do you got, Jose?
Hunts. Yeah, go ahead, Jose.
Alchemist, Poe, not my favorite. Allowing 3 kills in one night to a good player is pretty tough, especially later in the game.
Okay, yeah, let's go
you're
over
not really
Alchemist.
solving the game. You're just killing everyone else that's not you, right? And so that's not fun for Evil. Unlike Evil dying during the day, they get a chance to maybe get off the block. They get a chance to try to shape worlds, right? At night they don't have that chance.
Hosian, can you explain the Alchemist Summoner and how all of that works? Because the Alchemist says that the Summoner says there's no demon in play. So how can you have an Alchemist Summoner?
An Alchemist gets a minion ability, and if they get the Summoner ability, a Night 3 they get to make a good demon. Unless it's Legion, right? I think that's the one exception.
I'm kind of hitting you towards the Jinx. There's a Jinx that causes a couple of changes to the Summoner's ability.
So the jinx for the summoner alchemist is whoever they pick becomes a demon of their alignment. If the alchemist summoner doesn't pick themselves, which they will 100% of the time, if they don't pick themselves, whoever they pick will become a demon of an alignment of whatever they started at. So they have a summoner alchemist can make another evil demon, basically, if they pick an evil player. I don't think an alchemist would ever pick anyone but themselves. I think Alchemist is another role that people immediately thought of when they thought of the Summoner because it would be a wacky interaction on scripts, but I don't think any script is made better by having 2 demons on it. I don't think anybody but the Alchemist is enjoying themselves in those games. So I don't.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
That's why I don't like it with the Poe. It's really with the Poe specifically when you're getting 3 kills in one night, and you could just wipe out anyone else that's living. Mm-hmm. You're winning the game by yourself. You're not working with town to get information.
Yeah.
Because you're just wiping out everyone that's not you, right? So you're gonna win, but with not working with town, not having any information, and the demon and the evil team have no chance of escaping. Especially, I think one of the parts of the Jinx that they didn't include is the demon knows you're in play. I think that might have added a little bit more because then, first 2 nights the demon might be hunting for you.
Yeah,
and then later on, they're hunting for the demon if they don't hit you yet. Not knowing it's in play, the Poe can just hide, right? The Poe can just pick no one. They charge up, they kill 3 people, that's a game over, they win. It's not fun for anybody, but like you said, the Alchemist. So to me, I think that's not a great interaction.
Yeah, and I prefer scripts where town has to work together, either socially or mechanically to find the demon.
I have one note on that Jinx, and I think the Jinx is a little light on the change stuff. I think the Alchemist Summoner getting 3 bluffs is bullshit.
That is wild.
I think that's so stupid, and that makes more than anything that makes it unplayable. That's not fair or fun to the other team.
That's why I say the demon should maybe get a heads up that it's in play, because there's no reason for the demon to think it's in play without. They're getting 3 bluffs. They literally have a built-in protection against it.
It can accidentally out the demon just by knowing roles.
We should mention we're focusing on 12-player games, but once you get up there, claim space is a thing, right? Where there's only so many roles out of play. You give 3 roles to the fucking Alch Summoner here, and now one of those or many could be being claimed by maybe a spy is in play, or maybe that's a bad example, but the demon bluffs might overlap.
The demon. Yeah,
So
the demon might
that's
take
terrible.
might realize, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that part of it. I wish that would be gone because I see some fun that can be had on sillier scripts.
The fact that that's part of the, I mean, we know why a regular summoner needs it. I don't know why an alchemist summoner would need it. But
Although I do think that there are literally 1, 2, 3, 4 other great roles for the alchemist on the script, so I'm not mad at the alchemist being here, even if it's got that.
Love alchemist, psycho, alchemist assassin's a classic. Yeah, everything else is good. I just think people jumped at the opportunity to have an alchemist summoner for some crazier games, which is fine, but as a script that should be played more than a couple times, probably not viable. Also, huntsman's on here. I know we play with a custom rule that the huntsman gets sacked every day, but a normal huntsman, just not interesting. Not interesting at all. No.
Okay. Any closing thoughts, or we'll put this one away and come back to it potentially?
In a Legion game that has no popular, that feels pretty rough. Right? The Snake Charmer's probably gonna hit a Legion, and the new Legion is just gonna out the entire.
I like
Legion
that
team.
though, Jose. I like that a lot.
Legion game.
To be fair, they don't
now
know
we're
which one of the good
kinda
players is the Snake Charmer.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Right?
No, but it's only about 4 options, right?
Well, Alexis
And
does
we
have
just
a
added
bounty hunter on
Legion
here.
game.
Oh man.
I think
like
there's
that.
always going to be some roles on scripts that have Legion plus other demons that don't always work.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have an Exorcist on a Legion script, but there's 2 other demons, so it's on there so that could be claimed.
That's
and
on
of
the
course, they're
summoner
not in
for
play.
not knowing, right? The summoner's got to do some work and choose. You know, the summoner has to pick a demon that makes sense for whatever they're trying to do. You can't just randomly pick a player and a thing. Like you'll lose most of the time if you're doing that. So they have to think about it. And if they, I mean, obviously a Snake Charmer might not come out, but that's on. If you're worried about a Snake Charming one of your Legion as a summoner, don't make Legion. That's the simple answer.
I actually think it's not summoner game is where it's a problem, right? Because I think in the Legion,
he's talking about starting Legion.
They don't know who each other are. Starting Legion is where, because then the Legion who got turned, it's a Legion game and out the entire Legion team outside of one player, right?
I mean, we're gonna assume STs that set up this game in an interesting way. We can't just.
I'm with that.
I play with a lot of interesting STs.
I'm talking about our STs on our server that know how to run games. I trust all of them. I don't think anybody's going to set up any really bad games.
Well, do we want to give this one the fucking championship prize right now, or wait till later?
I think we should look at more.
All right.
I think we should look at more.
All right. So, Alexis, we appreciate your contribution here. It was a fun script every time that we played it. We're going to move on to Rainycap's script. Let me open that one up. Rainycap's script is Lurking in the Shadows. Lurking in the Shadows by Rainycap. So Rainycap has a little write-up here. It's wonderful. All right, Rainycap. Lurking in the Shadows. It's an evil cultist summoning a Leviathan. It's intended that the summoner is always in play. So we'll come back to that. Even if it's the only minion. In a 2-minion game, it's highly encouraged that a Spy Widow be put into play. In a 3-minion game, either Baron or the other spy-like minion can be in play. The intention is to reverse the closed position the summoner typically puts games in. Although there's a bunch of useful townsfolk roles, there are plenty of reasons on the script info may be wrong. Maybe the drunk, maybe it's a mutant talking, maybe it's a politician trying to win. Who can you trust, and what evil force is lurking in the shadows? You heard that right. So our first big thing is this script creator is already forcing upon the storyteller from their thing to only put the summoner in play as a minion. That's already a big no-no when it comes to running any scripts. That means this script's replayability is already shot to the dust, the garbage can, if that's the case. Because we don't always play 12-player games. We do play a lot of them. We're lucky to have a good amount of friends here who are addicted to having no real social life and just want to hang out with strangers online.
This is the social life?
Yeah,
the social life?
Sure. Yeah, we're all healthy. We're all mentally there and healthy. Yeah. All right. But on this, we have the Summoner Leviathan situation. So the intent from, as you read from Rainy, is that the Summoner will bring a Leviathan in on Game 3. The idea makes sense. Pick a player, nobody knows who it is, and then they're the Leviathan. There's several problems with this. First off, there's always a Leviathan on night 3. That means everything prior to that, people are just trying to kill the Summoner, and they know that there's only one type of other minion in play.
Yeah.
Right?
He did update so his write-up mentioned the Widow. He did take the Widow off, so now it's just Spy. So we just have Spy, Poisoner, Baron in addition to the Summoner. But yeah, the world even the worlds pre-Leviathan. I mean, let's assume the players didn't read the write-up, right? They don't know the ST needs to put the summoner in every time, but the ST just happens to have the summoner in. They can look at the script and know it's not a Leviathan game because the announcement hasn't gone out. So they already know they have 2 free days to try and find the summoner. So and they also know they have an extra good player versus the evil team. So they know they outnumber the evil team. I think with all these townsfolk in play, any smart town can immediately at least kill one of the two, if not win the game based on the roles that are on this. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's really hard for evil. I mean, and then if you want to talk about post-Leviathan...
Well, let's talk about a big issue with the Leviathan, and maybe you mention it. You get to kill 2 free days because the summoner in this idea is not bringing the Leviathan into play.
Correct. You've already lowered the amount of possible demons to 2 less. So.
And the power of the Leviathan is you can only fuck up once. That's it.
Yeah, so you're already hampering the Leviathan, even though they start in, day 3 at that point? So Town only has 2 less days, but Town already had free executions as well. So,
yeah, the write-up mentioned a few things. Those were changed. So the politician in his write-up is no longer applicable. That got removed.
Correct.
And what was the other one?
The
Widow you had already mentioned. I think.
A Widow Spy game isn't. Don't put Widow with Spy because it has to be one or the other, especially with 4 minions. So. Yeah.
Oh, previously the script had 15 townsfolk. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
So the claim space was massive in a Leviathan game. That's also a bad
an issue. That's an issue for that is hampering good too much. So.
Yeah, you could just guess a roll and they might not be in play, like pretty high odds, and get free claim space. That is a problem. Okay, so the minions. I'm gonna pretend that the script works without his suggested summoner only, and that's how I'm gonna critique it because I'm not ever gonna require somebody to run my script a specific way, and I would hope that he wouldn't want that either. So noting that the first issue you run into is if a summoner is in game, if you follow rules as written, the Leviathan announcement does not go out on day 1, day 2, which is a big tell. So that is an issue. I think in general, us 3 all kind of agree that Leviathan summoners. It's not a great combo.
No, I think it's not super bad if you have other demons. It's not in play immediately. Town doesn't know to start. Town will execute people, but the confusion I think is interesting that it creates post it. But a solo one just does not in any way, shape, or form work for me, as far as playing games. Yeah.
The Bounty Hunter was an ad that happened. I think that was a good change for this. But in general, I do think that the script falls out of it for me because of the biggest issue with just Summoner Leviathan doesn't work for me.
Correct,
I don't think it works, and I don't have really much else to critique if that part doesn't work.
Yep.
Hosian, anything?
I'll add one more thought. Chambermaid in this script seems very powerful.
That's
you
a
wake
great
up
point.
night 1, 10 out of the 12 townsfolk wake up on the first night. Summoner is one of the only players that don't.
Yeah.
So if the Chambermaid gets a 1, they probably hit the Summoner because even the minions, 2 of them wake up. It's just
so the Summoner
Baron.
does wake up night 1. Just to be clear, they wake up due to their own ability to learn bluffs. The bigger issue is Leviathan never wakes up.
That counts?
Yes.
For a Chambermaid?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
The Summoner wakes up on night 1 and night 3.
Well, Leviathan was my other point too. Yeah, Leviathan. So
fucked.
a lot of these.
If you get a 2 between people, Hosian, they ain't the Leviathan. Moving on.
Exactly. The only counter to that is the same is something that they could try to bluff, but
since we are talking about townsfolk,
powerful on this
there is some strong fucking townsfolk on here, and I think that's good. I think you should have that on the Leviathan script.
I think any summoner script, honestly, I think should have strong townsfolk because it helps later. It helps evil later because we didn't talk about it. One of the things, just like the Kazali, the summoner does, your demon has a built-in bluff. They've been playing the game as a good player. Some players, when they're demons, have a hard time building worlds that involve them not being evil because they're pretending to be their role. I think players have an easier time when they've been the role and have been doing things and playing with people, building trust with town. I think that's a strength of the summoner. So I think strong roles are inherently good with the summoner
Yeah.
specifically. You just have to find the balance between the summoner getting outed too quickly, because there are too many good roles in play, which for this script would be way too many.
My point was
just a
more
shout
towards
out
the
mutants.
Leviathan, though, on that. Because
Yeah.
the Leviathan, you can only fuck up once, right?
Yeah. For this specific script, not great. I do like, just for a shout out, mutant with Leviathan, always good.
Yeah.
Make sure, always have the mutant with the Leviathan.
Plus, they don't wake up.
It's a good. They
So
don't wake up.
if you're gonna
It's
keep the
best-
chambermaid, you got a fucking somebody you can get over here.
It's one of the best. Yeah, it's one of the best.
I'll be honest,
out there.
Rainy. If you remove the summoner and find a equitable minion to put on here, this might just be a good Leviathan script.
Yeah.
But this is not a good summoner script.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not sorry. All right. Any last thoughts? We're going to move on to Danny's. Oh, Danny didn't give me the JSON yet. So moving on. All right. Let's go down to Nolan's script. Nolan also didn't give me the JSON. Cool. What was it? Nolan, Danny, and Collin, right?
Yeah.
They're all in a row. Moving on to Josh's script. All right. Got the write-up up. Let's open Makerspace. If I'm wrong and one of those are on there, we'll go back to it. But I don't think so. Okay. Makerspace version 2 from Josh. I'll go through the write-up real quick. So he has some thoughts on it would be interesting to learn. And let's skip down. So... Okay, interesting to try to lean into the need to figure out the choices of the starting evil team. You could be a starting summoner waiting to make a demon. He mentions a Kazali, but that's been removed. And then some other notes on here. Some interesting good characters will have to weigh in to give out their information early, trusting their info, or holding on to once per game abilities for a while. There's a mix of loud and subtle minions, and hidden outsiders that will make part of the puzzle challenging. There's also a lot of potential for misinformation. Lots of possible outsider manipulation and demons that could be pretty difficult to pin down. Then there's the Hatter. We'll talk about that in a minute. And possible Fangu jump to add another layer of chaos as well. I expect that much of this game will be deciding whether you can trust the people you've already cleared. For evil, there are several roles who have ongoing information you want to stop or defuse, but do you really want to leave those once per games hanging around? Lots of decisions. Also, previously, the script had a toy maker. I'm not going to get into that section of it. But that's all been removed. So we have
let's
notes
talk
on
about the Hatter, because he also did remove the Hatter. So
yeah,
this
the
is version
Hatter's
without
been
the Hatter.
removed.
Explain why.
So on the Hatter topic, doesn't matter if you run Hatter, Chaos Hatter, whatever. Especially for this scenario, the Hatter allows you to swap whatever minion you are to another minion, or demon to another demon. In a starting demon game, there is no summoner, because that's how it works, right? The summoner's setup ability is no demon, meaning there's probably a poisoner or marionette in play, whatever. A Hatter dies, all of a sudden you have your poisoner waking up, and they're like, I want to be a summoner. There's nothing that stops that. There's no rule against that. And the Hatter got killed night 1, night 2, or night 2, night 3, potentially. That trigger happens right away for most people. I trigger it right when it happens, as early in the night order as possible. They make a summoner, they make a new demon. There's no arbitrary kills like a pit hag. You just have 2 demons now. That's not fair.
No. It's incredible. I mean, it punishes the Hatter. Hatters are an outsider, right? But it punishes the Hatter extremely hard. And I don't think anybody wants to be in that position. Evil wants to be in that position, but I don't think the Hatter ever does. And I just don't think it's fun for Town, because it's a game that's unwinnable in most scenarios after that.
We did have a game that happened for that, and your old buddy Drinky Joe here was a little lost on the sauce. That video is no longer up for reasons, but it was a good kind of explanation, demonstration on why that's a bad combination. Even the evil team didn't feel good.
It felt bad about it, yeah.
Yeah. And it was a weird one, and not the best situation that could have.
Well, it's one of those roles where it forces an optimal play if you're trying to win, which most of our players are, and you feel bad because you might not want to do it, but it's what you're supposed to do. And I think our players don't like to be pigeonholed into doing. Most of our games there is no right optimal path. And when it is that obvious, I think it creates not as interesting games, and the script suffers from it too.
Now, there used to be a Kazali on this script. I had a lot of comments on that. I don't think we really need to go too deep on it, but I'll make one note. Kazali and Summoner do not work in a fun way. Mm-hmm. You cannot pick the Summoner if you're the Kazali, And if you're the summoner, making a Kazali gives you 0 benefit. So
it's just a bad. It's a demon that can't do anything besides pick kills. So
yeah. Even though that did happen in our game, but it was mostly for the lulz because they were a lunatic that
funny.
saw the Kazali, so why not?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that. The demons, so we'll look at our minions first. So obviously we have a Godfather here for outsider manipulation. First thing I always look at is there another way that deaths happen? And the answer is yes. There is at least one other way, and it's townsfolk. So we have Gossip and Gambler there. Can both cause that. Not the best combination, but you know what? It's perfectly fine for those. It's more likely that the Gossip will confirm themselves than a Godfather kill going off and hiding that, but that's fine. It doesn't always matter. We'll come back to that later. In fact, we have a summoner on the script, so maybe it won't matter anyway.
Yep.
Next thing we have on here is do you guys have thoughts about the Godfather? I know it's kind of going to be overused here, but
we're going to see it a lot, right? It's great. It's multifaceted. It lets you add outsiders. It's outside manipulation plus extra kills, which some players feel summoner needs those kills to hide that it's a summoner game. Godfather knowing the outsiders is also really strong for them. It gives them extra claim space. If they hear that there's a drunk, they know that they can bluff another outsider that would know that they're an outsider if they're not a lunatic. I think it works well with the summoner. That's why we see it on a lot of scripts. It's not a bad choice. It's just it won't get those extra kills as often as like an assassin, obviously.
Yeah.
But
on this script, I would call the Godfather a loud minion. Because if there's no one claiming Gossip, no one claiming Gambler, and a second kill goes off, there's no other explanation for it.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad if it's loud, but yeah, it's a confirmable role, and if you have opinions on that one way or the other, you'll feel a specific way about it.
Godfather can sync as well if they want to, but that is part of their ability to kill, so it seems kind of...
Yeah.
It's shite when you do it, let's be real. Just kill someone.
Just get it.
Unless you're really trying to hide a poisoner, right? If you're really trying to hide a poisoner.
Kill yourself, if anything. Kill somebody.
So the poisoner, I think, is always good, right? It's the best source of misinfo. Anytime I see a poisoner, first thing I do is look, is Vortox below there? Because I get that they can work together, but on most scripts, it's redundant. It doesn't come into play. Right?
The second thing I look for, Joe, is the leech. And why do we look for the leech poisoner? Because you can run into a very bad situation. If you run the game rules as written, the poisoner can poison the leech. You can kill their leech target, and now you have an immortal leech. I don't think anybody we play with runs it that way. I think everybody plays it that no matter what, if the leech host dies, the leech dies.
Yeah.
That is something to be aware of. If you're playing with an ST that runs it that way, that can happen on this script. It's always a possibility when you see a poison or leech together.
Our Kinky Land server specifically has it. So if the leech host ever dies, the leech dies. It just makes things simple. Leech can always be a frustrating thing to play against anyway, so this simplifies a lot of that. We don't have to worry about it. Marionette, though, there's a jinx with the Marionette and the Summoner. So the Marionette must neighbor the Summoner, which is an interesting thing. That's not unlike a little monster jinx for it. And it seems kind of like, okay, well, that's pretty restrictive on it. Well, it could still neighbor the Recluse. The Recluse can just register as the Summoner. So we're back where we started when it comes to the Marionette, right? It is just very limiting. Great.
Yeah, Marionette's fine with Summoner. I think they initially wanted the Summoner to register as the Demon, and I think they quickly realized that's not good for the Summoner.
Yeah.
Probably where that jinx comes from. But yeah, the Summoner, if you're going to have a Marionette, you probably want the Recluse just so you have movability.
Oh yeah, that's the old write-up wording for the Summoner, isn't it? You register as Demon or something.
Yeah, I've never seen
they
it.
They didn't get bluffs either previously, is my understanding. That was something they added pretty late in the game.
Very bad for the Summoner.
That's a fucking wild thing. You're just like, I don't know, I'm a village idiot like everybody else, right? Every game.
That would not be good. But moving into the demons, though, I love the list of demons here. I think they're all good. My personal opinion on Summoner is I like a Summoner mixed with a kind of just a vanilla demon. I don't know how people feel about Nadashi Fengu, but I feel like those are not too crazy, and I think it is beneficial to Evil to have just a plain Jane demon and still have interesting choices to make on which one they make.
Yeah, these options are great because there's a few things, right? We'll throw out the curveball here of the leech. Nothing on here survives execution except for the leech. I think that's perfectly fine. I think most scripts with the leech should have that. The leech already gets a free skipped execution. Now you know it's a leech game. They would have died if there were another demon. That's the difference.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's perfectly fine. And you mentioned the poisoner leech situation. Even though that immortal leech thing can happen, the scenarios with the poisoner leech are very, very strong, very good, because it keeps everybody guessing if they're the host.
Yep. Same with Marionette, right? A Marionette, if you never talk to them, they could think they're the leech host, and that helps you as the evil team. So.
Oh yeah. Now the Nodashi is funny because there are a couple of ongoing abilities, ongoing roles here. And maybe you just drop a fucking Nodashi in between those bastards, and they get all kinds of weird shit in the middle of the game. Yep. Or it could just be a poisoner that hit them, right? You don't know. So that part is fun, and it's world building, and it has probably a lot of replayability to it. If people are already living in that world, though, you have your other two old faithfuls here, Fangu and an Imp.
Yep, Fangu also gives you outsider manipulation, which a lot of people like. I think it's fine either way. Imp is just good. Imp's the best demon. Imp is fun. You can make an Imp, the Imp can immediately kill themselves, and you can then, as a summoner, become the Imp.
I've never seen that before.
It's very funny. And, you have a Raven Keeper on here, so if they want to immediately claim Raven Keeper who saw someone as the now summoned demon, they can do that, and it'd be very funny.
One of the questions that, comes up, we have a Fangu on here. I don't think there's a crap ton of scenarios where you're picking the Fangu as a summon thing depending on the player count, because one of their abilities isn't even a part of when they get summoned. The +1 outsider, that doesn't happen. So unless you know exactly where they jump.
Nice about having the Godfather, if the summoner knows there are other minions of Godfather, they already have that +1 outsider. They know in a 12-player game, there's still 3 options for the Fangu to jump to, right?
Yeah.
So I think
actually maybe even more Hosian,
good.
Because a lot of people do +1 -1 with Fangu, right? So Fangu up, Godfather down. And if you actually just have a starting Godfather and bring a Fangu in, you get more than you would in most Fangu Godfather games, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. So I think that's where it's interesting with the Summoner, right? That's where they have to coordinate. Similarly with the Leech, if you know a Night Watchman, Slayer, Seamstress has already used their ability, right? Make a Leech, hope that the Leech, the new Leech, realizes that too, and they Leech host that one of those abilities. They can't detect if they're poisoned, right? They already used their abilities, so they're done.
Yeah.
So it makes it really great. So I think it puts a lot of thought on the summoner of what they're going to make, and depending what they see on the board, really adds to what's the best choice here, which I think is really strong of this.
Yeah, I think when there's not a best choice and it's game dependent, I think you've made a good summoner script, and that's what I'm looking at here. I think a funny thing though to mention with the Leech, when you're summoned as a demon, you don't know your team. So the Leech is just going to pick somebody.
Well, if Alexis is running the game, you might learn your team. So you better hope your storyteller's her.
Yeah, you won't know your team, right? So when you pick your Leech host, you might accidentally, your poisoner, is Leech host or something like that. Which it's
a benefit though.
It is good, right? Because if the summoner comes to you, they find out now your evil player is poisoned. They're going to try everything they can to not die. Which helps down, or it helps evil and it hurts town, and I think that's why Leech Summoner is an interesting choice here. I think the summoner gets to have their pick. I like a game where a summoner wakes up and they're like, oh man, they're all good options, So I don't know, they're stuck with trying to figure out which is the best of the best.
One of the other strengths with the Leech Summoner, and we were talking about it the other day, is that unlike a regular Leech script, the Leech actually is going to have some information of who they want to Leech target. Normally they kind of go in blind and they might pick someone that's probably not the best choice. Maybe it's an outsider trying to die or something. With this script, with the Summoner, day 3, you actually have some choices of, that person's a good Leech host, right? They're going to want to stay alive, or that person's already wasted their ability. They're not going to know they're drunk, or something like that. So,
I have a thought on that too, because it's kind of funny. Like conceptually, what is the summoner doing? The summoner's picking their win condition. They're like, you are going to make it to final 3. What is the Leech doing? You're passing the buck twice when you pick a Leech. It's kind of funny, right? Yeah, it's like, I pick you. Yeah, in a way, right? So it's funny. I could see a Leech being made and then the leech making the summoner be made, and like, oh fuck, my whole scenario goes all the way back. So the leech hosts the summoner, and we're back to the beginning of the game.
Yeah, the summoner has their 3 bluffs, and they've been pretending to be somebody, so they can just pretend to still be working if they play it off right. So it
seems like we all enjoy all the demon scenarios here. A lot of options. It's starting and/or coming in late in the game. Also to note, there's no way for the demon to move in this script except for the demon power or the summoner. Yeah. And I think that's needed with the leech. In my head, I know there are a lot of scripts. I see TPI play a lot of scripts with Pit Hag and leech, and cool. Like I don't love it because of reasons. I think that making a leech is optimal, like Final 4, Final 5, something, because they don't know who they picked. They can self-host, and you're probably still killing people. That's my thoughts. Yeah, but I do think this is fine where it's at. Outsiders.
Love them. You have an interesting choice. Yeah, go ahead.
The problem with Lunatic, there's no protection rolls. So a Lunatic wakes up at night, goes to kill someone in a summoner game, that person doesn't die, you're the Lunatic. There's no other reason.
That's not fine. That's not a bad thing either, Hosian, what you're mentioning, because that is 100% true. If you look at BMR, the base script for the Lunatic, there is multiple ways deaths can happen or not happen, and you could string the Lunatic along for at least a couple days. This doesn't even account for like Poppy Grower / Magician that people like to put on custom scripts with Lunatic. I love it.
Also, do you need to string along a Lunatic? You have a Godfather in play. It's a town's choice if they want to risk, Godfather getting a kill or not.
Yeah, which is great. I think that combination is why it's on BMR and so good. Plus, I mean, the Lunatic is really there as a good bluff sometimes. It's a social thing, right? Is this actually just a minion, or is the demon doing something? A great leech bluff, right? Because what does the leech give a fuck? If you don't decide to ever kill it, then cool, I got away with it. But if you do, they're pretty fucking safe.
Yep.
Golem?
Golem's the outlier here, but it's an interesting choice. Does the Golem use it immediately, confirm themselves, and then get turned into the demon?
I think the meta right now is for the Golem to hold it to night 4.
Hold it, right? Hold it as long as possible.
Because that's what happened in our game.
But then you might have the issue of the Golem waited forever and then used it, and now they could have been poisoned, right? And so it looks like they picked the demon, or it works, but then they lose their nomination power, and then town has to get rid of them and still kill the demon. So yeah, it's in a good place, I think.
It's a great bluff too, right? If people wants to say I'm the Golem, I don't want to nom, and then they finally nom, and it doesn't kill. Either A, they hit the demon or leech, which is the same fucking thing, or maybe the leech host, right? Stuff like that.
If you're a summoner and you hear Golem as one of your bluffs, you're in an easier game than if you don't hear it. You don't have to worry about it firing off somewhere, but you can then use it against somebody later to get sus off for the demon you made. So,
and there's a Fangu on this script too, the classic catfishing combo of Godfather, Fangu, and all the outsiders trying to fucking hide.
Yep. None of these outsiders want to come out because that's the power of the Fangu. 2 might not know that they exist. I think I think they all work really well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I like Recluse Fangu because I think Recluse typically comes out. But with a Fangu and they're not, then they misregister to town, creates a lot of worlds there.
Yep.
And they have to decide if they want to come out or not. And I think typically town is usually okay with killing your Recluse, so there is some risk there.
Yep.
Okay. I guess we can go to the townsfolk. It looks like we have 3 start knowing roles on here. One of them being, I guess 2 of them are pretty particularly low level strength. The Shugenja and Steward specifically. They don't give you any info. It's not like a washerwoman. And honestly, there's nothing that makes your alignment change except for the summoner and the Fangu. So it is a little interesting to have a Steward on here. But it's a great bluff. That's the counterpoint to any weak
amazing
roll.
Bluff. Yeah. Steward is an amazing bluff. Shugenja is great. It's a great social read. Townsfolk, you have a direction. The storyteller comes to you, they point you in a direction, and then it's up to you to figure out, what your info means. And it's just a really good start knowing roll. It's a great bluff for evil. It gets sus away from your summoner if they're not in play, because you can immediately start killing other people for a couple days. The librarian is good here. It creates a trust chain between 2 players that can be broken later. Same with the steward. Just because you saw somebody day 1 as a steward doesn't mean they're going to be good later. Any role that gets paranoid later because of the summoner, I think is a good role to be on this script.
Yeah.
Really fun combination. Summoner summons the librarian to a Fangu. They know one of the outsiders they can jump to later.
Yep.
Really fun.
Oh, we keep coming back to the goddamn librarian. Is librarian MVP summoner candidate here? What the fuck? They have so much
well,
info.
you know, it's funny. I have a list of roles that I like with a summoner. One of them is on here, Flower Girl. I think the Flower Girl is a good townsfolk to have because if you don't get turned into the demon, you're one of the best roles to figure out who became the demon if it's a summoner
agreed.
game. And I think a good script has townsfolk that can both pre and post figure out what's going on. If you have too little of one or the other, you don't have an interesting game. And I think this does a good mix of both. Because while I do enjoy just the social aspect of the game, I do also enjoy the mechanical, and I think you need a good blend of both to have a fun game and have multiple fun games, right? If every game devolves into we're just picking people randomly because we have no more info, I think that's a bad script. And I think on this script, we have so many different ways that town can figure it out towards the end with who's left based on what happened, that I just think it's in a good place. Another favorite of mine is Gambler. Gambler is in a really weird spot because the way the Night Order works is the Gambler has the possibility of dying the night that they can be summoned into the demon, and the summoner can pick dead players. So there are worlds, and I'm sure this will happen to players, where a Gambler does not come out as a Gambler or is sly about it, dies to gambling the summoner, who then chose them thinking they would be a good demon candidate, and the game has just ended. And no one knows that except for the storyteller. And waking up to that will be interesting. It also, I like the summoner to have to sweat who they pick, and having the threat of a Gambler somewhere, it's a good bluff for good. If you don't want to be the demon, bluffing Gambler probably keeps you alive because they don't want to risk it, and good having fun on their own lying. I like when good has to lie, and that's a good character that would lie. So
yeah, how do you guys feel about Snake Charmer Leech?
That's a weird one. That is.
It won't always come up, but once the leech is outed, maybe this keeps the leech more honest. But I mean, if I'm the Snake Charmer, I'm waiting until final. As soon as a leech is outed, and I'm pretending I'm not leech hosted as the Snake Charmer, I'm doing that shit in final 3. Like, why wouldn't I? That's the optimal thing for
I think
myself.
That's fun though, right? That's fun.
It is.
That's
it
fine.
is.
Yeah, I think Snake Charmer's fun with Summoner too because, the way I see it, Summoner made a demon, and then a townsfolk said, "No, I'm going to be that demon now."
It's interesting too with that is if they snake charm him the same day that the demon it wouldn't be the same day, but it gives an interesting thing where the summoner, if they don't tell him that day, the next day the snake charmer could pick him, and they don't know who the person who was the demon isn't going to be like, oh, this is my evil team.
Yep, they had no idea.
They have no idea.
And we've seen multiple games now where the summoner doesn't go to the demon right away because they don't want it to be obvious. So there's a high possibility that the snake charmer becomes the demon. It gets away with it, which is harder to do on most scripts. I think it's in a good spot here.
Okay, I'm a fan. I like it. Village Idiot's fine. I don't see any issues with that. It gives the evil team a bluff if they want it, always. And outsiders. I think the Village Idiot has been a great resource for outsiders who are trying to bluff something.
Correct, yeah.
Because if you're trying to hide from a Fangu, and the Fangu hears Village Idiot and they're fucking bluffs, well, maybe not the best in that scenario, but whatever. And most of the time, right, there's just at least one Village Idiot out there you can hide and try to get away. We do have a couple of kill boys here with the Gossip, the Gambler. I think we've made our thoughts on those. Any strong thoughts on the Gossip being maybe overpowered, or?
Interesting, because I think you mentioned not a lot of reasons for death.
If I'm Gossip, I'm doing
summoner game.
I'm doing gossips that I believe are not going to work. That's what I'm going to do with the Gossip.
That's what I did actually the other day as a Gossip.
Yeah, I'm just probably going to win the game doing that.
Right? I put there's a cost to the confirmation, right? If the Gambler kills themselves, well, they killed themselves. They're confirmed, but they're dead. If a Gossip, confirms themselves, I think the storyteller, that's on them to say, hey, we have a good townsfolk confirmed. Maybe you kill a powerful townsfolk in return, right? Yeah. So there's kind of this cost there, which is why I don't mind it as much.
How do you feel about this Gossip? Day 1, I gossip there's a summoner in play.
You see it a lot.
I think that's what
That's the worst fucking gossip ever, right? Because if there's a summoner in play, you just covered it up. If there's not, the demon's gonna kill. That's the worst gossip, but I've heard it twice now.
Specifically, I gossip that there's not one in play.
That's fine. That's the correct way.
I've been the gossip who was trying hard to mechanically confirm themselves and ended up becoming summoned by the demon and was proven mechanically to have been the demon. That's on the summoner. Pay attention to what people are saying.
Oopsie poopsie.
You know, and that's another role that the summoner might want to double think, you know, creating a demon with, because that's a role that can prove themselves. It's another safe townsfolk that should probably stay around. If evil wants to win, they probably don't pick the gossip.
Yeah,
but at the same time, the gossip might win the game. Good. So it's yeah.
The evil team either needs to take out the gossip if they don't like what they're saying, or start sinking kills. There's lots of play there, but it is what it is. It's not something evil can really bluff. Godfather's not going to know when they're hitting an outsider every day or whatever to fucking be like, oh yeah, I gossip this. That would be very late in the day when you know that it's going to work or not, even if you do. And then, so you're just playing with fire if you gossip as the Godfather. You can do it. It's probably fine. Anyway, we do have the classic Night Watchman. This thing's fucking sparked up on every script now that we have a summoner that can make it not be a legitimately confirmed townsfolk anymore. And I think that's good.
Yep, it's super good. Night Watchman and Summoner work so well together because what was once a 100% confirmable role or two evil players bluffing has now could be the demon. So, I mean, it's a good thing to put on the script. It also, as the Night Watchman, like you said earlier, do you hold it? Do you confirm yourself right away and then, you know, at the risk of turning into a demon later? You know, you now have you as the Night Watchman have interesting choices to make rather than just using it immediately.
Yeah, I held it to day 3 the other day, and it felt good. Yep. Felt good. It felt strong.
And for Seamstress, Seamstress can hold it and wait just for them to kind of confirm other people if they want. Same for the Slayer. The Slayer could always hold it, but the Seamstress and Night Watchman both have reasons to hold past night 1 now.
Now, there is an issue. If there's no demon in play, well, then you're probably going to have an ability that works. If no Dashie pops up as your neighbor, that could be an issue for the Seamstress, but for the Night Watchman, that's an issue for the demon.
Yep, and that's a good tension. That's a good tension to have for good and evil, and that's just smart script building, in my opinion.
Yeah. How do we feel about Slayer? There's no cover here like there would be with the Scarlet Woman. If you just shoot if somebody dies when they shoot, they're confirmed Slayer, even if it's fucking around with the Recluse.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. You know,
it's a win con, right?
It's a win condition for a town that I think is probably less likely to happen, but it's funny. It's funny if, you know, you're a confirmed Night Watchman. I'm a Slayer. The summoned night happens. I'm still a Slayer, you know, and the Night Watchman's still alive. I probably shoot at the Night Watchman and see what happens. And go from there.
We got the classic Raven Keeper, the lowest strength out of all the you die at night, get some bullshit thing. And I think it works pretty good here. We have a Fangu Imp situation, and potentially one of the evil team gets killed by this summoned demon when they come in too. So reasons evil might bluff that. Pretty strong reasons.
Yep. Also a townsfolk that is going to lie and hide their ability, which helps evil and helps good too. So.
Yep. See Village Idiot again. Lots of Village Idiots. Hosian, any last thoughts on any of the townies?
No, I think we hit them. We went through all of them.
Okay. Overall, I'm a fan of the script. I like this one.
Yeah, my biggest positive for the script is I don't see setups that are bad for town, like for games.
Replayability, right? This has.
Yeah, I think it's one of those scripts you could hit random and almost have a playable game probably 100% of the time. So, yeah.
Sorry. All right, let's go to the next one. I did ping the homies to give them a shot here. We'll move on to Bosch. Bosch's script is called I'm Mechanically Confirmed. Version 2_2. Or did I do that? Maybe I did that. Anyway, what do we got here for the write-up for Mr. Bosch? Now, this has been edited slightly, so some of this write-up might be outdated. Wow, there's even a little story here for everybody, so bear with us.
Get it.
I was seen by a grandmother who... I don't know what the voice is supposed to be.
No, keep it going.
I was seen by a grandmother who was seen by a steward who died after nominating the Virgin, who I chose as the Night Watchman, making me mechanically confirmed. And then it has Rachel's emoji face. Wait. Could there be a drunk Kinky face? A spy Moony face? A philosopher Savage face? Or, in 3 days, I could just become the demon. Llama face. Okay, some write-up stuff about the actual script. He's got this segmented into early, mid, and end game. So he has some real fucking thoughts on the direction that the script will go in. We'll see how we feel about that. So the script has the potential for a lot of early confirmations and the potential to leave the summoner scrambling. All's not lost with the help of a minion buddy. And again, we're assuming 12-player games for the most part.
Yeah.
Or sell a potential non-summoner game. A mid-game. Although there's a fair amount of early games, spice. It's in the mid-game when the summoner gets to turn up the heat. Yeah, like Val Venus. The demon choices are meant to give the summoner versatile options depending on how the game has progressed. Want to stay under the radar? Adopt a little monster. Oh, that's cute. If town it's just a little too much, spin up the Vortex. Or do you have a dead spent assassin? Announce your Alhad to bring back to life. Yeah, we know what he meant. And maybe town is not executing and you need to bring in a Leviathan for the big guns. You'll notice that's no longer applicable. To pull down town, selecting the right demon to bring town's demise. Should be fun, skill testing, and summoner-based reads. So that's the mid-game. The end game is, my hypothesis is that the gambler has the potential to be one of the most powerful townsfolk roles on the script in the end game if town decides to trust them. On the script with minimal droisening, being able to confirm a couple of roles pre-summoner swap, then going back to check them post-swap can single-handedly win the game for town. The summoner should also be wary of trying to turn the to their side. If the gambler chooses wrong on the night the summoner picks, there'll be a dead minion, demon. Oh, this comes back to the thing we talked about. Yep. The game will be over. I think that was a fun write-up.
Yep.
Let's jump into the minion space. Hosian, give us a little explanation on these minions.
Got a quick question. Is this his newest version? Because I know he ran a summoner script the other day that was a little different. I don't know if it was the same as...
This is the one I have.
Okay.
Did he remove Alhad or something? I know he ran it for you guys.
Definitely removed Alhad and had a poison.
Off.
He had a poison in the one we ran the other day because I remember the summoned little monster was a poisoner.
Oh, that was funny.
Yes. So.
Well, he did not update that, so I'll message him and give him a shot to get back to me. But we can evaluate this. Because this is what's on the script competition. You guys trying to move on? Come back? Is that what we're thinking?
I mean, we can look at this. It's not... yeah, I mean, if we want to... we know he took the Alhad off.
He's messaging me back.
Okay, we know he took the Alhad off, for instance. I think this is the first Vortex script we've looked at.
Yeah, I'll have a lot of thoughts on Vortex.
And Oho, which is also interesting.
Okay, Bosch is going to send it over. Okay, well, we can look at the minions on here. You mentioned all these, plus Poisoner potentially is what got added. This kind of...
I think Spy got taken
definitely
off.
Poisoner. Spy might have, got taken off.
But let's talk about the Spy Damsel Jinx. It's a good one. Only one Jinx character can be in play. Meaning... it's either a spy without damsel game, or it's a damsel game without a spy game. Does that narrow down worlds a little tiny bit? But it's interesting for town to try and figure out which is which. Because if you are the damsel, you know it's not a spy game, but you can't tell people that.
And that's what I was gonna say. It
right?
On worlds, but
for you, the damsel.
Exactly. The spy knows it, no matter what the minion is gonna know if it's a damsel or not. The damsel knows if it's a spy or not. But how do they tell town that?
Yeah,
and
how
that's
do you
the
get
big...
town? Yeah, you could be like, I feel like it's not a spy game, and now you suddenly become the damsel, and somebody's gonna guess you.
In fact, I think this happened in a game with Joe the other day where he was the damsel. He knew that it wasn't a spy game. He knew what minions were in play, but he had to be very careful of how he's trying to get these people killed because he couldn't out that. So he was very carefully trying to circumvent the fact that he knew it wasn't a spy game without saying directly to town it's not a spy game. So it's a good jinx because there's a huge risk to that.
Because I had the right solve that game, but I had the wrong demon. I had the exact spot where the demon was, but I thought it was no Dashi jumping over me. It was a Fangu who jumped to that player. Same effect.
It's also, a lot of people, I think, when they become the damsel in a game, they freak out and they're nervous because they don't want to lose the game for good. Having just that little piece of info, it's not a spy game. You've already got info that helps town, and I think that helps like more nervous players, feel better about their role. They still know they can't out stuff, but they have a more narrow view of what's going on in the game. So I feel like that helps them navigate it a little bit better. They don't have to worry as much.
5, 2, 1. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, this does have Barber Damsel. I wonder if he changed that.
Oh, that's what I was looking at. I knew there was
it has
another
Godfather Barber
I
Damsel,
think
which we
he
can get into.
did. There was no barber in the one we ran the other day, I believe. There was a damsel.
Let's
It's 5.
Okay, I think we were able to get the revised version of the script. Okay, cool. Let's fucking drop on this. So you already went over the damsel. What was it? The damsel spy jinx.
Damsel
Love it.
spy. Yep.
That's one of my favorite things in Clocktower as a jinx. And I hate jinxes, which is what this is considered, where only one could be in play. But this one is just good. So,
Yeah, I think it works.
you guys get the special treat of seeing both versions of a script. My favorite thing is the owl hat is gone. Thank you, Jesus. But now there's a
Have a
poison.
Leviathan on it too.
Yeah,
It's actually the 3rd version, at least, of the script.
yeah. This is all good changes in my opinion. So the poisoner replaced the owl hat in a way, and a little monster on here makes sense as well. Because if you have,
Do we want to go over Little Monster?
sure, yeah, I have the write up. Let me grab it right
All right,
now.
get it out.
Yeah.
Exclusive, Kinky Land exclusive Little Monster write-up brought to you.
Yeah.
Joe
I will
got
say, Bosch does run it different
It says,
than
I don't know.
We'll go
Joe's.
over it.
That's what it says.
Okay, so Little Monster. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you understand Little Monster. There's no demon in play. There are
If
some
you're
extra
if
minions.
you don't know Lil Monster, why are you watching this? This is a script contest for a game you've never heard of or played. Please go elsewhere. Probably.
So I'm sure a lot of STs have run into this. There's a Little Monster on your script and a summoner. The summoner has chosen a player to become Little Monster. What do you do? Well, it depends on which ST you are. Some players will turn that player into a minion that's out of play and give them Little Monster. Some players will say rules as written, which there's no write-up for Little Monster, but the rules themselves as written, that player would just become the evil townsfolk now holding Little Monster. And then the second part of this, just like Legion earlier, the demon doesn't know their team. And Little Monster in a popular game, each minion or evil player, in this case would be just an evil player, wakes up individually and is asked if they want to hold it, starting with the player holding the baby. Do you run it that way? Do you wake them all up after day 1? It's up to you. There's no right or wrong way. It's just the ST needs to make sure that the expectations are set before the game starts on how they would do it, so the players know how to play around it. Yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just make sure everyone knows how you're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that either one is fine. Honestly, I guess
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I think the one thing I am adamant about is that the whole interaction between summoner and demon is that the demon doesn't know who summoned them. And so to try and get around that with a Little Monster game, I think goes against what the summoner does. And so it's on the evil team to coordinate.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, Little Monster is interesting. I think we're good. We're not even going to go too deep into the minions. We'll come back to them as we evaluate the rest of the script. But we have a Little Monster, an Oho, and a Vortox. So, depending on how you run Little Monster if you make a new minion in play or if you make a evil townsfolk, that will change the impact that this has on the script. Because we do have a bounty hunter up top, so there could potentially be anywhere from 0 to 2 evil townsfolk, depending on how you run Little Monster, if it gets summoned into play, which is fun and interesting. It really doesn't change much. It might even be it could be a higher power level for some roles or a lower one for others. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But Oho, you rarely see an Oho. What do we think about the Oho here?
I love Oho Summoner. I like the Oho in general. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I think the strength of the Oho being able to pick who they kill. It also helps. It helps a newly summoned demon if they've been playing the game. If you were the gambler and you know who people are, you have choices to make. If you're a social player and you just got rolls from people, you have choices to make. It's an inoffensive. Again, it's a more vanilla demon. It's inoffensive, but at the same time, it has the ability to get 2 kills. If you're really struggling, talk to your ST and say, hey, I am just not right now. Can I just say, my role that I used to be that's now out of play, and you help me out? And they might. It depends, but I think it's a good demon for the summoner. The summoner has to really think about it if they want to put it in play or not.
Yeah. And what's interesting, out of the 3 demons here, 2 of them are storyteller potentially selectable roles. Oho being able to decide if that's the case or not, unless they miss. So yeah, that is a good combo with the summoner, because it does, for the most part, prevent the summoner from immediately just getting murdered after they summon. Now, Lil Monster, for the most part, the write-up, again, very thorough. And I believe that the write-up mentions, right? By the way, it's the fucking meme, in case you are actually curious about the Lil Monster. There's no write-up for this character. So the Lil Monster itself has the guidance, my understanding from the game's designer, Stephen Medway, that you should kill off the evil team before you get the final 3 due to the power of that. So it's not exactly a surprise if the summoner dies right then. But, the power of being able to move around the demon, very, very strong, right, in general. That's why that is the suggested guidance. But that's less about the summoner, more about the little monster. The Vortox. So Vortox makes us point to townsfolk. So we have to kind of skip down there to see how viable this is. So I think we'll come back to that when we look at the outsiders. And then we'll talk about Vortox plus every townsfolk.
Well, I think one thing to mention with the Vortox is it gets around the let's not, execute anybody day 1 to prove or disprove a, summoner game. It forces town to execute.
That's definitely a meta that would come up, right? If you are all like, it's probably a summoner game. Either we hit the summoner today or we confirm summoner by not doing anything.
Yeah.
That's strong. And there's an assassin on here, but it does make them burn their thing if they want to do that. Otherwise, everybody is just like, it's a summoner game. Like, they would have to do that. Because the only demon that can sync here in that world... None of them. Oho can't even sync if there's... So we're talking about in a world where we skipped execution. So they can't sync.
Yeah.
Could they sync?
Yeah. I think
Storyteller chooses kills. Oh, that's a good question now. Can Storyteller choose no one?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
If the Vortox wasn't on here, and it was just Oho, Little Monster, and no deaths happened, it's either a Oho game or a summoner game.
Yeah, I guess we could argue the Oho could get 0 kills, not even fake syncing, just literally no kills. It doesn't even try. Yeah, okay.
A starting Oho fake a summoner game. Script, a starting Oho on the script could choose to fake a summoner game. Talking to the ST, and for some reason want to make it seem like a summoner game. So.
I'll be very clear. That's not going to be worth it, Oho. Don't do that.
No, probably not.
Your power's not good enough for that to be okay. Anyway, it is mechanically possible. You know what? We're talking about the Vortox. I'm going to give you this. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rolls, 7 townsfolk rolls that get information. So 7 is not a lot. We'll go through those when we get down there, but that's also something to keep in mind with the Vortox. We're on its home script. I think 11 out of the fucking 13 rolls all interact with the Vortox. Right? The less of these rolls that you have in play, the less likely you are to catch a Vortox, which can be devastating for the good team. But whatever. We'll see how much it matters.
Well, what's interesting, too, is I believe out of your 7, if we're looking at the same 7, 2 of those are you start knowing. So Vortox comes in a summoner game, now it's only 5.
Yeah. Yeah,
You've
100%.
now reduced it, and I think you create a lot of interesting interactions, specifically Empath. Put the Vortox next to the Empath. They get wrong information. They think that the person sitting next to them is still good.
Yeah.
Dreamer, you bullshit whoever the Dreamer sees as the new demon. And then, of course, Fortune Teller is going to take probably some time for them to figure out it's a Vortox game. And the game is not going to be too much longer after day 3, right? So I think all of these townsfolk really work well with that Vortox and kind of staying hidden while giving that mystery to town. I think it's workable. You got to file that and save it.
It could go the other way too, and you've created a Vortox game where info was one thing and now it's completely warped, and so town figures it out too.
Exactly. So I think again what we talked about earlier, where it gives that summoner an interesting choice, depending what's in play, and depending how they see the cards stacked in the deck. They got to make that decision.
Yeah. I think I think the interesting thing is part of the power of the Vortex is obviously the misinfo, but if you bring it in mid-game, 3 of those 7 roles have already done their thing, right? One of them has ongoing, so it loses some of its ability, its impact. They might already have enough information to pinpoint some of the evil players, which will eventually lead to the end of the game if they follow socials and you play more than just a mechanical game of everything. So that actually weakens the Vortex, in my opinion. But that's my
my worry with Vortex is it's too loud of a what you're saying. It's too loud when it comes into play, having not been into play, and then by that point, town's already figured out what's going on. So
yeah. Anyway, the Outsiders. So we have the only multiple kill stuff we have going on. It's basically Oho can get multi-kill, right? If they really want it. They're not going to get it often, but if it works for their bluff or if there's a reason for it. We have an Assassin, Godfather. So that's the evil side of the kills. But on the good side, Tinker is it for Outsiders. And we have a Gambler and a Grandmother. That's not a lot. Is it enough, though? Is it enough to signal loud minions versus quiet minions?
I think a Tinker's always pretty good in these multiple/non-multiple death scripts.
What is the purpose of the Tinker on this script?
So the Tinker on this script, there's a couple things. If they die, if they're the only death, it could be that they just died to their ability. The Assassin could have killed them to make them think that they died to their own ability, and create other weird worlds. It gives the storyteller ways to help evil out, which is what an Outsider, they're not helpful to town. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, I think it's in a weird spot just because I don't know,
not
it gives
like
town something to
ambiguity.
think about. Yeah, it gives town something to think about, right? Like, why did the Tinker die? If the Tinker dies in addition to somebody else, then also you have to think about things.
Let's look at death prevention real quick, right? So we have Soldier, we have Exorcist, and then we have we'll be generous. We have an Oho that misses. We have a Summoner game. Those aren't protection, but we'll pretend, right? Just for the sake of that. Okay, what is the Tinker doing? I feel like there's better Outsiders that can fill a different kind of void here.
Yeah, I think Tinker's on here to cover for a Summoner game, and then I think the Tinker just immediately says, I'm the Tinker, I died, right? So
I would argue a Plague Doctor succeeds way better on this script than where a Tinker does. If you execute a Plague Doctor, you can give yourself the Godfather ability and get a kill that night.
Yeah, I think, if the goal is to... Also, that's an Outsider that might not come out, too. I think the Plague Doctor... I think you're right. I think the Tinker, it's better served when there's like Witch and more... When you have more multiple deaths than what we have, I think the Tinker is probably better to put on here.
Yeah, and again, this is just my thoughts on it, but I think that's kind of where I'm sitting on this. I think Tinker is way out of place. If you had a Gossip even on here, it would be helpful. But no Gossip. Yeah. Gossip and Tinker are like, they're fucking aligned. Because it's just so good, right? You could burn the Tinker. You could even sink the Gossip kill into the Tinker, like really kill it, and it's confusing for town. They're like, did he actually get a kill? You don't know. That's what makes the Tinker Gossip combo so good. But the fact that there's not multi-kill demons and certain other things, I do think it's probably in a bad spot. The other minions the other Outsiders on here are probably fine. We have this Damsel Jinx we talked about. We have... Let's see. Is there anything killing it on the townsfolk side? I guess if the Grandmother sees the damsel, that's pretty devastating. Because if the Grandmother you can make an evil Grandmother see the fucking damsel, and then maybe the game ends. I don't know. That's storytelling bullshit. That's funny. But it is funny. It's stupid. Whatever. Don't do that. Anyway, we're talking dumb shit. I think Damsel's fine. It gives a win con to the evil team, and it's fine. There's not a lot of bluff ability. It's probably your main issue you're going to run into. But there is a world.
People, just quiet Outsiders is what this is probably looking for with the Damsel and the Drunk.
Yeah, whereas the Tinker very loud. It's fun bluff, I guess, but I don't know. Tinker, get rid of the Tinker. Okay, with that, we do have... See, I guess the Bounty Hunter is the only thing that would lead to an extra evil, so that's good. I like that. Yeah. But for the start knowing rolls, pretty strong, but I do think there's a lot of overlap with Steward and Grandmother. I think Grandmother's just a better Steward.
I think grandmother's good when, bless you, I think grandmother's good when you have a spy in the game. I think that's the only reason probably grandmother's on here is because they work well together, because they could either, there's a reason for the grandmother to see somebody as an evil player. But yeah, if you're not doing steward here, you're probably doing Shugenja with grandmother because it's more ambiguity.
Yeah, I would. If you're a steward, you're more likely an evil player, right? If you're grandmother, you're either the spy if it happens right away, or you're the grandmother. Maybe you're an evil grandmother, but you're still grandmother, and that is information, right? I guess the issue is that they literally both do the same thing except for the second part, right? You see a good player, then the steward's ability ends. So it's one of those overlapping role things, which I've seen on a few of the scripts that got revised. I think if you're going to build a good townsfolk set, you do not want overlapping abilities. It just kind of muddies and muddles, maybe is a better word, the abilities that are out there. If I'm the fortune teller and there's a flower girl out there, it does start to amp up either what we're doing or making town too strong. Stuff like that I'm not a fan of.
Mm-hmm. I think the theme of this one was large confirmation chains which get broken by the summoner later, which is why you see some overlap. That's
totally fair. And again, this is just personal taste. I actually think it's fine on this script, probably, but me. Whatever. We'll move on from that. So we do have a role that sees if their neighbors are good. Everybody likes the empath.
Empath's good.
Empath. I think
and empath can solve the game if they're sober.
Oh yeah, empath plus village idiot is like they're kind of the same thing as grandmother steward. So I'm surprised that I don't randomly see village idiot on here. Because again, I think village idiot works with damsel a lot.
Yeah, it was strong. It was interesting to keep it off, but yeah, empath is good here though.
Empath is good. Dreamer's very, very powerful. They Poisoner, the Drunk, and the Vortox are the only things fucking with the Dreamer directly, right?
Yeah. A Dreamer's a good summoner target later for the summoner if they think they've proven themselves, and by that point have probably also know what the rest of the town is.
Yep. Dreamer is a Vortox solver too, and a great bluff for evil. So potentially, day 3 comes along, and the spy is like, oh shit, I started seeing people that aren't their role all of a sudden. What's going on? Yep. So it's fun. Classic fortune teller. Can't go wrong with fortune teller. It's got built-in misinfo. There is no demon movement on this script at all, except for the summoner.
So interesting thing with the fortune teller is their red herring could then become the demon. So a fortune teller's red herring could become the demon, which would necessitate a fortune teller red herring moving after the demon is summoned. So the fortune teller could get some wild info.
Would you say that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's
hey, I found the demon. Hey, it didn't change.
Right? They could get 3 yeses, right? Or they could get a yes on somebody they didn't originally get a yes on, which could be. I don't know if that's too much confusion for a fortune teller.
I don't think so. I think and most people just generally kill the fortune teller pings, even when they are lying. People are just like, well, don't want to let that happen, because once you get burned once by not killing the pings, you never let it happen again. Mm-hmm. That's why it's such a strong evil bluff, because people just kill into them. But speaking of which, that means it is a good bluff for the evil team, which I think is another thing good thing it's on here. Point away from people that you want to give the demon hood to, right?
Honestly, I think
the other thing with the red herring changing is there is a poisoner, which is a nice sort of balance to that, right? Because it's like, did my red herring change, or was I just poisoned night 1? Or am I poisoned now?
Yeah.
So
I think the only one that stands out for me here is Exorcist. I think Exorcist is in a weird spot because if it's a summoner game, you haven't done anything for the first 2 days or for the first night.
Yeah.
You don't do anything, and then you could accidentally pick the person who got summoned and not be able to pick them the night they became the demon, or you pick the summoned demon that night, you pick before they get summoned, so you just are useless on the demon summon night.
Oh, it gets worse, sandwiches. What if it's a little monster game?
Yeah, I think the Exorcist on this script doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Little monster still kills, by the way. Little monster still gets their kill. You're not stopping the baby from waking up. You might stop a poisoner from waking up that night if they're holding the baby, but the kill still happens. So, and there's not been a jinx that has come out and fixed that. Like the Yagababble has a jinx that works for it, but this is not that world yet. Maybe one day when the write-up comes out officially. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Exorcist, Tinker, those are big red flags on this script so far. They're nothing that would make this unplayable. They're just like, if we were looking to improve it, those would go.
Yeah, if I draw the Exorcist token, I'm not psyched.
No,
basically.
no. And if I draw the Tinker, I'm psyched. Like, cool.
Yeah,
You're probably going to confirm me at some point.
Right, I'm just going to tell everybody.
Night Watchman is, again, we already had probably enough discussions, but when you combine it with the next role, which we're going to have a lot to talk about, the ability's pretty good, I think. So
yeah, Philo Night Watchman seems extremely strong. It's just missing the cannibal for the even more confirmation.
Yeah, well, we do have the Philo Bounty Hunter situation.
Okay, yeah, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so Philo Bounty Hunter, a bounty hunter comes into play during the beginning of the game, right? You draw it out of the bag, and in setup, it has this thing where one townsfolk is made evil because it's such a strong power being able to see and know an evil player and where they're at. Goddamn, that's game break. We'll come back to that too as well because I got a lot of thoughts on the bounty hunter. But a philosopher can do that for no cost. If you play rules as written, philosopher takes the bounty hunter power, and this is all assuming sober, healthy. Sure, anybody can get sniped by the poisoner, but they pick it. They learn an evil player, and there are no other evil players added. The detriment of that is, in a summoner game, that's one of two players.
One of two people.
That's fucking nuts.
Probably not the summoner if the ST's doing their job right. But
probably.
It's so bad.
You fucking hope so. Maybe not good. So we do have a custom jinx that we run. If the philosopher ever goes bounty hunter, and there's not already an evil bounty hunter made townsfolk, then we create one. So don't try to fucking get away from that. So it's your choice as the philosopher if you want to add more chaos to the game. It will never be the philosopher themselves. That would be unfair and unfun, but maybe some people think differently about that. That is a custom rule. That is not rules as written, but it is a way a lot of I've heard TPI-related streamers and whatnot run it. It just
I think you should.
it.
Yeah, that's the huge balancing factor of the bounty hunter is that there's an evil townsfolk to balance out the fact that somebody just straight up knows who's evil in a sober game.
Now,
I think it's important.
Converse of that, here's where the things get a little hairy. I want to go back to the bounty hunter and talk through each of these being made evil and what that would do to the game.
Ooh,
okay?
Yeah. Cool.
So Steward, I don't think it hurts it.
No.
Grandmother, that's insanely strong, right? Depending on who the grandmother sees, right?
That's an interesting one, right? Do you come out as the grandmother if you're evil, or do you try to get your grandchild killed so it's 2 kills for evil at night?
Yeah, right? It's like, oh, shit. And you're like, I can't explain this, making confusion out there, leading to an assassin world. It's funny. I love that. I actually think that's fun. I think the bounty hunter being made evil is a big no for me in most scenarios. I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 worlds where it's
There's small niche worlds
fun.
where I'm okay with
I don't know. I'm not usually about it. Empath being evil is amazing because they might learn an evil player next to them.
Yep.
They're trying to figure out if they're evil so they can be friends with them instead of kill them. Way different scenario. But yeah, that's kind of where that one sits. The dreamer is good. It becomes a fun situation.
They're looking for their team.
Yep. Yeah, you're probably finding them because the storyteller might just be giving you bullshit that's not their bluffs, and then the evil roll, and you're like, that's not what I was told. You're just straight up the other roll, aren't you, bitch? Yeah, it's true. Moving down to the fortune teller is a great one that just removes information from town, and it gives false information as if a bluff. But if you have an evil fortune teller, that means you don't have a good fortune teller giving out really powerful information. Gambler's funny.
Yep.
Because they could just kill themselves.
Kill yourself at some point. Yep.
The Exorcist, we already had discussions. I don't think an Exorcist is a weak evil. I think it's actually pretty strong. But on this script, we mentioned the Exorcist really doesn't do much. But if you're an Exorcist and you hit the demon, you're not telling them who you hit. So
no, you're saying literally anybody else.
Yeah, the evil Exorcist is great. Evil Night Watchman's good. We should note all of this with the caveat. There is a spy on this script, so they will find the bounty hunter, evil turned townsfolk, which is not the worst thing. It's not a widow scenario. Because night 1, you'd have to get lucky with the poisoner. We can get your guys' thoughts on that too. Before we move to the philosopher, any thoughts on spy bounty hunter?
The dreamer could see the spy as a townsfolk, and then the bounty hunter could think that is the evil townsfolk, when in fact they're the spy.
I see. Funny. That's interesting. A little scenario. So I don't. Yeah, and I'm not even against bounty hunter pointing to the spy. I think that's perfectly fine, and you probably have to do that because they're getting closer and closer to your, win-loss condition if they're not seeing you. So you will be seen. That is a bad interaction with a spy. The good side of it is the evil townsfolk. That is the power.
Yeah. That's more power. I feel like that swings the power to evil a little bit further than what the balance is intended for the bounty hunter, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because the bounty hunter is still going to go hard against that evil player. So
Oh, yeah.
It's fine.
And now, Philosopher turned evil. This is probably the worst combination and best combination all in one.
Right?
Because if you're a Philosopher and I'm evil, I know there's a bounty hunter in play.
Yep.
I act before the bounty hunter. Why wouldn't I turn them drunk and become the bounty hunter, find my own evil team, and fuck over the entire good team in multiple ways? That is too easy.
But Joe, there's a recluse on this script.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
So the ST has the power to show the recluse to the sober bounty hunter that made themselves evil because they're the philosopher that's evil. And now you've got quite an interesting situation.
Yeah. It's again, I think I hate to meddle too much in how somebody would run their game, but if I am a philosopher that goes bounty hunter as an evil one, storyteller should still just give me an evil player as the bounty hunter. Like, give me the philosopher at that point. Fuck you. Like, it's bad sportsmanship. Because honestly, an evil philosopher is so fun for all the other things that it can do. It can drunk any of these townsfolk or outsiders or do whatever the fuck, right? But the optimal play is to do just to the bounty hunter.
So you can find your team, yeah.
Yeah, well, drunk them and find your team. It's like 2 in 1, which is fucking ridiculous. Because they are in play if you're in play. So, again, that combination's a little hairy for me, and I would probably just remove Philosopher from the script. My thought. But whatever.
Yeah. Soldier, though, great.
Soldier's great. Soldier works on here. Oho can never touch him. Little Monster. If the Little Monster is holding, let's say a spy, or no, the Godfather is the only one I could really do, or a Poisoner. If they are holding the baby, they are the demon. They cannot affect the soldier, which is fun. However, Assassin powers through that, so bad example.
Yep.
And then the Virgin. Everybody loves a good Virgin, right?
Yep, Virgin's a good one to add with the Summoner because a now once confirmed role, like we said, can suddenly become the demon. And and as the evil team, you could just leave the Virgin on there as a red herring that town either does or doesn't take care of to their detriment. And so now you've saved yourself a day of executions because town probably will decide to take care of the Virgin at some point just to get that world out of there. So
yeah. Okay, last thoughts on this one, Hosen, before we close it out and go to the next one. We'll try to pick up the pace on these.
I think we've gone through all of, we really went through all the characters in this.
Yeah, we
so
did.
I think we're good.
Good. That's good for us because that means we won't repeat it on the next script. So we're going to go to Please Hold by Moony. Moony. Oh, Moony. So this is one that wasn't updated. I forget. Yeah, this was never updated. So this is Moony's original script. We'll be kind, I'm sure. Thank you for calling Ravenswood Bluff. Please hold. The script's based around the summoner's ability to take a confirmation riddled town and turn it on its head. You use your abilities to hunt a summoner, of course, but will you? Townsfolk are incentivized to hold their once-per-game abilities in favor of possibly demon hunting on night 3 or catering the information they gain to support their newfound demonhood. Will you use it or will you lose it?
all right, points for the write-up.
All right, this could completely backfire. Yada. Cool. All right, so my initial thoughts were this script is close to being pretty good. That was my initial thoughts when I looked at it, but that was initial. I looked at it again. It has. Let's just go to the minions, I guess. So this did go non-standard. It doesn't have the assassin that everybody wants to put on there.
Yeah,
it's got 2 madness rolls instead. How do you guys feel about Harpy?
Yeah. I like Harpy. This is the first one we're seeing with Summoner Harpy.
Mm-hmm.
It does a good job. If your goal is to get sus off the Summoner for a couple days, a Harpy does a good job of that. It especially with some of the townsfolk that have the ability to see evil. I think it's good to divert attention for long enough. I do know some players just don't like playing with the Harpy though, so you might alienate some players.
Yeah, the Harpy's a rough one because what is considering somebody evil? What's good enough for the storyteller, right? And then your punishment takes out a whole other player who had no agency in that scenario. And people either respect it a lot, or they want to respect it, but they don't know how to meet your expectations. That matters. So when we look at the Harpy, we are forced to look at townsfolk. We have no choice. So if we look at townsfolk, we got to do that right now for that. There really is only a few roles here where the Harpy would be useful to lie about those roles. Namely, Investigator, Empath. And Empath's weird too. If I'm made mad at seat 1 on our Grim here, so we got seat 1 as fucking, I don't know, they're made mad and they are the choir boy, whatever. They're made mad about fucking seat 6 over here about something, and they would want to bluff Empath. That ain't happening. So that limits that even more, so we can't even really consider Empath. So we have Investigator, Chambermaid, and then you have to engage them, which you should anyway, and then see if the number that you're going to make up matches with whatever they said.
Yep.
Other than that, what is there? Artist question that you're going to burn day 1 to force this bluff? Nobody's going to believe that.
Seamstress. You got Seamstress as well.
Seamstress
and
works.
Then Philosopher, which just
Of
goes
the
back
other
to
roles?
Yeah, the other roles.
It just doesn't. I guess you could say you're the Night Watchman who pinged them and then they didn't respond, if we're being generous, right? That is something, but that gets samey too. That goes into the replayability thing if that's what they got to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not a fan of the Harpy actually on this script. Now that we've kind of looked at it with the interactions, there's just not
I
a
like
lot.
the idea of it to keep your summoner alive, but I don't think what's on here works mechanically with what you're trying to do, basically.
Yeah, and I would know. I won the Harpy contest for the script competition, so I am.
That's why we're talking about
I'm
the
the
Harpy.
end all be all for the Harpy.
He's been waiting to say that. So you want to end this discussion?
All right. Moving on. I don't think we need to say much more on that. Serenovus we haven't seen on any of these. One of them. We saw it on one of them, but I can't remember which one. That one's fun.
That's good. Yeah, that's fine. Serenovus works with most setups. It's fine.
Yeah. Now, we got 3 demons, and they're very fucking different. So we run into the Alhad problem.
Okay. The demon selection here is quite... It's not great for a script in general. Because,
it's even worse, right? Because the Alhad, if that's not in play, you either are watching like a hawk on people or checking your info, and whichever one you figure out, the other one doesn't exist.
Yeah,
and
for any
specifically with the checking the info, there's no droisening on the script outside of the cannibal.
Artist walks up and asks, the game ends. Oh,
the
shit.
Vortox is probably going to be outed pretty quick, and therefore, if it's not a void, if you trust your information, you know it's not an Alhad, you're watching what people say.
Yeah,
so
and then at that point, if it's a Yaga that has an easy phrase, then you just have an imp or whatever that can't star pass. So, like, what are you doing? So it's, I think this demon selection just doesn't work with Summoner.
Yeah, and Yaga itself is like, it's fine. It's not going to carry the script, though. There's not even a lot of, like, outward talking roles. Yaga seems
and
to
what
work
happens,
best
Joe,
with
a Summoner that picks a Yaga? Does the Yaga kill that night?
Well, the Yaga phrase could be made up as something the guy or woman or they or whatever had said the prior day, right? And whatever comes up, you have to know what they said or you're trusting in what they said. And online, we have the benefit where I can talk with the Yaga for like 5 seconds or 5 minutes and people get mad at me or whatever. But I can do that and kind of workshop what they may have said yesterday. But I don't know for sure. I have to watch fucking 12 people and I don't know which one's going to be the Yaga. And unless they were being Mimi on day 2, I don't really know what the fuck they said.
Yep.
So, no, they're probably not going to get a kill that night in most cases. But I will be as generous
no
as I can.
You know it's a Yaga game.
Yeah.
Right?
And no
After a Summoner Day, if
announcement.
no kills happen, you know it's a Yaga game.
Yeah, there's no protection on here at all either. So, rough. Okay, so butchering that. I guess we could jump down to minions. Same idea. Actually, the Tinker's fun because you could bluff Tinker with Yaga, but that's not really helping the script since we've already pointed out the fact that those are
Snitch
issues.
is doing nothing here.
Snitch, yeah.
It's
I
just
have
not.
the same thing. Summoner gets bluffed. Godfather
gets
kind of
bluffed.
has bluffs.
Yeah, I think
So
that's just.
it only helps Harpy or Sarah.
Yeah, I think that's just trying to help evil.
It's
because
fine.
You feel bad for evil.
It's not great, yeah. The other side, I guess, if we go to... So we're kind of done with the minions, or outsiders and whatnot. I think the mutant's fine. I think Recluse is fine. There's no drunk, like you mentioned, so... That just means that this is a town full of fucking insanely powerful roles.
So people night 1, no matter what, yeah.
Yeah. We do have a Choir Boy King scenario, so if the outsiders are ever executed at some point, the Godfather can kill the king, nullifying the entire ability of the Choir Boy and the king in one shot. I don't like that. I think King Choir Boy needs to be on a script like Sex and Violets or like TB where there's one kill type. Because the real puzzle is, A, is there a Choir Boy in play? B, who is it? Kill that player first. That is the puzzle. I don't think that you should get a freebie to kill the king.
Yeah.
I just don't.
And also, what's the king doing here, really? It's not... Yeah.
In an Alhat game, maybe they'll get one piece of info, right?
Yeah, it's like... Yeah.
It's a weak roll as is, so it's kind of tough. Outside of that, I don't have a lot to say on the townsfolk because I think that the script does need work.
The chambermaid on the script in an Alhad game, insanely powerful. If I'm a townsfolk in this game, any of the once per game that I choose, I'm going to use. In an Alhad game, none of them are going to wake up outside of an empath after night 1. And it's going to point to the Alhad really quickly, because same thing with the outsiders. You got the things that wake up.
Oh, it's even worse than that, Hosian. It's way worse than that. You've pointed out each night, right? For the king, they don't even wake up till way later. So it's just the empath. Yes. It's just the empath.
Literally after night 1, you hear it's an Alhad. You make sure that the night watchman and Philo, all them use it. You're going to figure out who the Alhad is really quick.
Yeah, that's bad. And you'll know if it's a Vortox game 5 seconds in, too, when you get a 2.
For the same reason. It's going to be the opposite, yeah.
I do like the theme. I like where Moony was going with the theme of a bunch of use it or lose it rolls, especially where you might want to hold it to show you're not the demon. It just needs some work on what works with that on the evil side.
Yeah, much like Casey Anthony wasn't ready for this world. The parent, the child. Wait, sorry.
That's getting cut.
Wait. All right, moving on. Sometimes you got to get rid of a baby. Let's move down and start over. So the next one.
Other ways you could have made that joke.
I know. I didn't want to say it, but I did. All right, Impending Doom. Disaster. So yeah, Moony, I'm happy to talk with you later. That's where I'm at with your script. Okay. We got Impending Disaster by Juicy Berry. Juicy Berry. I think there's been some updates on this one. No, this is the one he didn't update, so cool. I can use all of my current thoughts on it. And then let's open the write-up. Okay. I'll skip his discussion points here, but he's got some interesting interactions that he's got on here. The Monk Vortox, Slayer Summoner, and Poisoner Vortox. No extra death rolls, so the demon is incentivized to sink or kill, or reveal themselves. Vortox is on the script to combat the no day 1 executions. And the Poisoner could poison the demon as well, if they want to do a hard Vortox check. And yeah. He said he wasn't super thrilled with it, but this is kind of where he settled. I think he must have grown to like it. I don't know. I did not see any updates to it, so it's kind of where I'm at.
I do think a lot of people had issues with Summoner just because, there's a lot that does and doesn't work with Summoner.
Oh, wait, he did update it. We're using the revised one. Sorry, he updated it slightly. Oh, my comments were all before he updated it, so we're fine. But the write-up might not match that. Anyway. So he's got a Baron. This is the first instance of a Baron we've seen, but I know Juicy. He just likes the Baron Plague Doctor more than anything.
I love the Baron Plague Doctor. It's great.
I seen that jinx from a mile away.
Lunatic, but yeah, Baron Plague Doctor's fine. Baron's a good minion. It's not the worst.
Yeah, Baron's fine. There's no other outsider manipulation, and there probably shouldn't be on this one.
You have a drunk, so yeah, I think Baron's good.
Yeah, how do you feel about a lot of outsiders with the... I guess maybe it doesn't matter, but outsiders, we didn't really mention it, but the summoner, when they remove the demon, they don't add an outsider, they add a townsfolk. So they don't help their team in that direction. They actually make town more powerful. And there's a chance to turn an outsider into the demon, thus still making town more powerful.
Yeah.
The Baron doubly does that, where you get 2 more outsiders, right? It hurts town at first, but then you turn it into a demon, making them stronger. It's something to think about. It's not unlike a Fangu jumping, but the Fangu in that world gets an extra evil. On here, you're just going back to the base level. Right? Something to think about. There's also a Scarlet Woman on here. This is the first instance of a Scarlet Woman that we've seen with a summoner.
This is interesting.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
My notes that I had on Scarlet Woman, what I wrote down was, feels rough without any village idiots or seamstresses to randomly hit them. There's no way unless you have if you have a bounty hunter in play, you're probably not going to show them the Scarlet Woman right away. You don't have an investigator that can see 2 people as a Scarlet Woman. You know, Fortune Teller can't see Scarlet Woman.
Well, if you have a Summoner Scarlet Woman, you have to show one of the two.
As
So
Bounty Hunter has an evil townsfolk too.
I would argue that most of the time, and this is how I think most of them run it, but you can do it however, is you would show a minion because you made an evil townsfolk for the benefit of that player to get their time as whatever, for the Bounty Hunter to see a minion, right, or the demon or whatever.
But in a game where there's no evil, so there's not a lot of evil finding outside of specifically the demon, right? So.
That's
Unless you juggle, there's no way to know if there's a Scarlet Woman in play at all for good. So you could hit the demon, and then they got caught by the Scarlet Woman, and then it's just like you're just guessing who's the. I don't know. It feels like a weird thing to put with a summoner for me. Like I don't know if I think the demon should be the one that can move around to the current minions, but I think if they get executed, they should just die. I don't think they should get saved from execution, basically, unless they're specifically the leech.
Yeah, I think it's on there because there's a lot of demon hunting rules. There's a lot of, like you said, specific rules that are finding or looking for the demon.
I guess if we want to jump to townsfolk real quick, the juggler on here also feels really weird because, you juggle literally the first day. And then that's it. So your info after 2 days is just nothing, right? So what do you juggle? Are you looking for the evil players? Are you trying to confirm townsfolk? Like,
do you think there should be more townsfolk that like a dreamer type, or?
I think if you have the Scarlet Woman on here, I think you should be at least have something like an empath or something that can find. The Oracle can see them when they're dead. Yeah. But that doesn't help down. I like Oracle in any kind of demon jumping worlds. I think that's good. But I think Scarlet Woman just feels out of place for me on here.
I think this has a similar makeup to a S&V situation, minus the Poison or Baron. Like, certain amount of outsiders come out, okay, it's a Baron game. Somebody's been made mad, okay, it's Serenovus is the other one. If it's neither of those two, it's Poisoner or Scarlet Woman, right? Assuming that it's summer game. And that is something, right? I mean, I guess that helps you figure out that portion. And if it's Poisoner, then somebody's info is bad. But if it's not, hey, we're all getting clean, useful, strong, powerful info here. Except for the Vortex, but that's...
But then you also have the Plague Doctor, right? So one of those, minions could then just become the Scarlet Woman.
I think that's probably a bigger issue, right?
Right. That's the other thing. That's the other issue I had is just like there's too much chaos of demon movement with what's on this script to feel comfortable as town ever trying to solve a game.
I would argue that Hosian made a good point. I think there's enough demon finding stuff on here that I don't actually see it as a problem. And I know you're saying specifically for alignment. I think Oracle is fine. It's like the absence of evil, and also social plays play into it. But I have thoughts mainly around the Fortune Teller Flower Girl doubling up thing, which I will die on this hill. I don't think they belong on a script together in most worlds. I think they do the exact same thing. Flower Girl is 10 times stronger and 10 times less fun to play.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Flower Girl's good though, because Flower Girl, if everybody votes and a Flower Girl gets that no demon voted, they're either poisoned or it's a summoner game.
Or Puka.
Or a Vortex game, right? Or Puka. So this actually covers it.
Or drunk.
This actually a good cover for all those roles. But then if they're seen by a High Priestess, then they should start thinking about what that means. But yeah, I mean, I would take Flower Girl over Fortune Teller on this script probably if you wanted it off. But
yeah, I would bump off a Flower Girl for like a Village Idiot or something along those lines. So
I think Village Idiot works really well on here. Yeah, I think a general blanket alignment finder helps balance this out a little bit more.
Yeah, plus they could solve Vortex game if they really wanted to point at themselves, right?
Yep.
Like that's just something they can do.
One more thing with the Summoner Scarlet Woman that's kind of interesting, and I never thought about it till now. Scarlet Woman's power is only active for so many days, right? Because there's no demon. Scarlet Woman doesn't matter. And then after 5 players are alive, Scarlet Woman doesn't matter. So they got like 2 days maybe where they can proc.
That's kind of fun.
Which is interesting.
It's there. It is there, kind of like a stopgap, right? To like make sure games get to night 3 or the final 3.
Yeah. Now, if you're the summoner, right? Night 3 comes up. Which demon are you picking?
So we haven't seen Pucka yet, right? So Pucka,
I wonder why.
if you pick a Pucka, nobody's gonna die night 1. At the cost of you do get to poison somebody. Town will know it's a Pucka game, I think. Is there any way?
There's soldier,
to hide
monk.
that?
Well, there's monk, soldier.
He went over
Okay.
that. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got
there's
some
reasons
protection.
to hide it being Pucka.
Or sinking,
Pucka,
right? Maybe a
Yeah.
Vortox sinks to scare everyone, which that's
Also,
not a
a
bad
starting
play.
Pucka can be hidden if they kill their picks with executions to make people think it's a summoner game, to make people think that their info.
A starting
is
Pucka, I will argue, cannot be hidden without a poisoner. You have to get extremely lucky. A starting Pucka needs
Oh, I
that
see what
player
you're
to be executed. That is almost impossible to consistently do.
That is true, but it's a world that can exist. But I don't know if the summoner is ever going to pick a Pucka if they're trying to win. They're probably picking either Imp or Vortox based on what's going on. And when we're looking at these in the vein of summoner themed scripts, I think the summoner wants to always have the option of all 3.
Yeah, I think the Pucka is just a less optimal choice to make. Now, starting Pucka is fine and fun, but it's going to out itself. That's the issue. And if you're relying on putting a poisoner in, which was in the write-up, if you're going to put a poisoner in every game with a Pucka just to hide it, well, I don't know. That replayability goes down, right? It's not as interesting if you're having the same setup every time. Other than that, I don't have an issue with the demons here until we get to the townsfolk. The outsiders, I think they're fine. You mentioned Plague Doctor, Scarlet Woman. I think it's fine.
I like Klutz. Klutz is great.
Klutz is great. They got Plague Doctor plus any of these roles are interesting. The Summoner probably is a weird one. We haven't had this come up yet. So a Plague Doctor Summoner, let's say that happens. Well, the Storyteller now has the ability on night 3 to make a demon. This can be used on the evil team if the evil team wants to change their demon type. Yeah. That's fine. That's fun. You can ask them, right? Get a feel for it, because you don't want to force them to do anything, but you also want to help them out. And you have the ability if you're going to do that. If they're interested, sure, why not? That's fine. Could be fun. A Vortox that switches to an Imp, nobody will even think about that. That's weird and funny and interesting, right? They're looking for either a starting Vortox or a Summoner game, and you just go from a Vortox to an Imp. That's not even possible on most scripts, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So without any hint of it happening. Or Pucka, who missed, and now the fucking Storyteller's like, I can make you a Vortox right now so you don't lose your kill. That's interesting. That is fun. I like that. Townsfolk, though. So we mentioned what? Was this the one with 7? Let's go through it. So Cannibal could get misinfo, but they're a mechanical type role. So we'll count them. 1, Juggler, 2, Sage, 3, Oracle, 4, Flower Girl, 5, Fortune Teller, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 of these roles work with the Vortox in a way that is helpful for the Vortox.
You think you're counting High Priestess?
Yes. Yes, because High Priestess, you can point them at somebody who's getting bad info, and that's great.
Yeah.
It doubly makes the bad info bad. It's so good. Yeah, the only ones I'm not counting actually are the Soldier, Slayer, and Monk. Everything else is qualified.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Now, the Cannibal's a weird one because it gets mechanical stuff, so it still gets the power. The Vortox doesn't block that. It just blocks the information that power might give them.
Which could confirm a Vortox world better, right? So.
Yeah. We don't have any issues with the Summoner picking any of these. We haven't ran into a Summoner Goon script, so hopefully we don't. But
Coward, put it on there.
I don't believe there were any.
I'll argue this. The Pucka was already a weak choice as a demon. It gets weaker if there's a Soldier or a Monk in play. A Monk kills 2 days of Pucka power because they protect the player from the demon. And the way the Pucka works is previously poisoned player then dies. I'm going to put a scenario on the screen for us so we can all follow along this stupid thing.
Pucka just doesn't want to be on in this game no matter what.
No. And this is something that people overlook and they don't see it, and that's totally fine. So we're going to put a Slayer here, and we're going to put a Pucka here, and we're going to put some random fucking thing here. I don't even care. Flower Girl. So the Pucka goes. Pucka tries to poison the Flower Girl. That same night, the Monk has protected the Slayer. Monk goes first. Monk moves over, protects the Flower Girl. They no longer die, right? Because they can't. Poisoning goes away. And now the Slayer is selected, and they're poisoned. No deaths happen that night. Then the Monk goes back and protects the Slayer, and the Pucka goes over. You can see the issue.
Yeah,
it actually has 2 nights of protection. because it can either be the night they get poisoned. Even if I leave it over here, it never happens, and that actually hurts the pucka even more, right? So then no deaths happen over multiple fucking nights. That's not good. It feels bad. It's not the worst thing in the world either. I actually am okay with it. But it's we've already pointed out how the pucka is just a rough summoner target.
When you add that with soldier on here, yeah, it just becomes... Yeah,
it's a lot. And that's fine. It does give the monk a little more power. You'll see a lot of scripts drop the monk in favor of the innkeeper for a little bit of added misinfo, depending on the script. So the monk versus the pucka is a fun, interesting thing, but maybe a little too strong for town here.
Yeah, not good for a summoner game.
Sage? How do you guys feel about Sage? I guess that they never get really good info here, except for an imp killing him.
Yeah, Sage is another weird one. I think it's to force some lies from town, probably, would be my guess as to why it's on here. Or a fun evil bluff if you're the imp that star passes and says you saw 2 people as the demon.
Yeah, but then you have to convince town you weren't killed by a pucka and it's not a Vortox game.
Right, yeah. Or you're covering for your demon if town knows it's a Vortox game and you're saying, I saw the demon and someone else.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. I don't know. It's not in a great place on this.
I specifically wrote, is the imp kind of trapped on the script with so many roles that, like, if there's an imp in play, you got the fortune teller flower girl combo, you got a slayer that can kill you got a soldier that you can't kill, you got a monk that helps someone that doesn't get killed, you got a sage that gets accurate information. I think the imp is really weak in this script.
Well, then you walk backwards
outside of the fact hopping to somebody.
Yeah, Scarlet Woman and all that, yeah.
But you are feeling trapped.
Yeah, this is a scary script for the evil demons right now. So that is a good point. Like the imp can obviously star pass, but okay, every day they're gonna do that every day.
You don't got enough time.
They're gonna run on a team.
And the thing is that as long as you're not aware, if these people are coordinating, they find each other, they coordinate against you, you're not gonna be able to star pass by the time they execute you, right? You only star pass when you know, oh shit, they're on to me. But if they're able to keep it quiet and they're able to find each other, you're in a bad spot.
Remember, I was talking about earlier, you got to find that good line of can solve the game after and before, and I think this leans so hard into after a summoner summon that it's really rough on the evil team.
All right. Any last thoughts on this one? I think overall I'm pretty happy with it, except for the pucka. I think the pucka could probably be replaced with a Nodashi and get a very similar effect.
Yeah, I think it's inoffensive to just put a Nodashi.
All right. And it also has the effect with the monk where it's fun, because you can try to protect like neighbors of people you think are the demon's neighbors or whatever. Okay, let's get rid of this one. I think this is a good submission, Juicy, overall. Let's go down to Mist script. This place is not a place. I think we have the new. Was he one that was
winner? This is the winner of the best write-up. Let's hear it.
All right, this place is not a place of honor. Oh God, it's a story. I forgot this one.
Let's get it.
The title of the script comes from a long-term nuclear waste warnings. The idea behind it: how will we communicate to future generations that come across nuclear waste that they should not tamper with the area, as the nuclear waste would kill them? If we just put a sign that says nuclear waste buried 100 miles deep, what happens in 10,000 years? The sign deteriorates, but the waste is still harmful. Or even if the sign still exists, but the knowledge of English disappears and no one understands the sign. The script is centered around the idea that by day 3, the game completely changes. Whatever plans in motion you had before mean nothing now. How can you solve the game if the player you just confirmed with the knight sat next to an empath with the 0 pinged as the good knight 2 from the village idiot becomes an evil demon? Yeah. What can town do to set themselves up for success in the future? The script does not have typical individual confirmation rolls. All confirmation comes from information from others. Information that can be poison or straight up false. There are demon detectors that can become helpful once the summoner picks up, but could a savvy poisoner help muddy their info? The rolls that check a person's morality if they can detect it. Someone turned evil recently, but a well-placed spy could mislead them. The script has powerful town abilities, but everyone requires to share their information and stay coordinated. The script should prevent a single player dominating discussion and solving the game on their own, but coalitions of players coming together with their info to paint a full picture. There's also some notes that he placed here. There's no jinxes. That still looks like the case. Summoner choosing a leech means the leech has to pick a host without knowing their team. Yep, that's good. And some comments on some other stuff that we'll probably get to when we talk about it. Okay, what if I can start up here?
Love it, miss. Keep it up.
Good set of minions. Good set of
Great.
minions. I like all of these just from looking at them. I haven't looked at anything else mentally yet, but yeah, these are good.
Clean. Yep.
Demons, like
Good.
the combos.
Yep, I think
like the
the summoner. I think these demons work as starting demons, and they work as summon demons. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, none of these are a huge issue. I think the loudness of the Poe is completely a choice that the player can make. You can keep it quiet. You can make everybody paranoid in a final 3. I don't think it's the most optimal because you've already lost a couple nights of killing. So to do it again, yeah, it's signaling something. It's the only demon that has that kill pattern. All right, Vortox, we'll see if that works. We got to look at the players, the townsfolk in a second. Leech, same thing. We'll have to look at the townsfolk for those to make sense. Let's go to the outsiders. So we've already talked about the minions and the demons. There's only a multi-kill from the Godfather or a Poe. And then we're back in the Tinker scenario, but I think Tinker's fine. The script does have a gossip.
Tinker works here because we have Godfather drunk, right? So if a Tinker dies in addition to somebody else at night, or is the only death,
Yeah.
I think you got a lot of stuff to look at, especially with the gossip.
That's a good point, because with the drunk Godfather is such a fun scenario of things, because everybody's like, wait, did I cause that? What happened?
Yeah. Was it a gossip that if 2 deaths happen at night, you're like, what the hell happened? There's multiple reasons.
Yeah. I think I had I did have one comment, one big issue we got to go back to. Poisoner Vortox. I get it. It's fine. And maybe on a summoner script, you've got more room to play around. Poisoning your demon, right?
If you're a
to try to
summoner,
get
right,
info.
and you have a poisoner as your minion, you're probably not going to pick Vortox, but then you have 3 other demons to pick, right?
What about night 1 though? I don't like that the makeup of the evil team has a restriction to it.
It doesn't necessarily. It's if you personally don't like the combo of the.
Here's how I look at it. Maybe it's a better way. Does the poisoner have enough mechanical roles on the script to fuck with? And let's look through them. So,
the monk.
philosopher. We'll start from the bottom, I guess. So, cannibal gains an ability. You can prevent that from happening. Sure,
Yep.
that's semi-mechanical, but really, most of these powers are going to be information anyway.
Well, the
Philosopher.
poison cannibal ST can show them whatever they want.
Yeah. But if they ate an evil player, I mean, it serves similar purpose. The philosopher never gains their ability if they're poisoned when they use it.
That's true.
The gossip won't go off. That might hurt you, though, depending on what's going on in this game.
Yeah.
Exorcist, great poison target.
Yep.
Monk, that's a good poison target.
Yep.
I mean, Sailor can be affected, sure.
The sailor. I mean,
You're not killing a sailor most of the time, not until late game. You just want the sailor out there to give misinfo, which we probably have to cover that in a minute too. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's fine. It's fine. I would feel bad to be a poisoner in a Vortox game if I didn't poison my Vortox night 1. Like, I'm not going to do that as a meta, because you could fucking... I guess the leech... No, because we run it, they still pick the leech host or whatever.
Yeah.
But the leech host, funny enough, would get sober info if you poison.
Well, I have an interesting... I just noticed on here, we have a monk and a leech. If a monk... on a summoner script, the leech picks their host right before the monk goes, right? So they can't protect... Wait, can the monk protect the leech host from being picked?
Lol.
They can, right?
Technically, yeah.
What happens?
Actually, I believe what happens is the monk, because it's the same thing as picking a soldier. Soldier has the exact same effect. And the soldier gets sober power, so they can never die, but they're still the host. So there's no negative effect to it, but they're still the host.
Okay.
It's weird, right?
Protected from the
There's a funny joke about it. If the leech wants to check if they hosted a soldier, they just attack their host. And then if nothing happens, then they hosted a soldier. Don't do that. It's stupid, but it's funny.
That's a choice.
It is a choice. Like, I'm feeling it today. But yeah, I think that's the idea. You just put the host token there, and they're not poisoned that day.
Yeah, monk's okay then. Yeah.
Going from a leech to a gambler, I see.
What is that?
Outsiders.
Oh,
Have we
I see.
seen
Yeah,
the Barber
yeah.
yet? Have we seen the Barber yet? And
We have not. We have not. We've seen Plague Doctor. I don't think we've seen Barber. I think Barber feels bad with the leech.
Oh yeah, Barber Leech is the one thing here that's not great.
Yeah, and you don't have a lot of control unless you're never going to put a Barber in a Summoner game. Then you don't know if there's going to be a leech.
Yeah, that's probably the only rough outsider here.
But this is our opinion, by the way. I've seen plenty of like streamers and TPI. They run Barber Leech all day. They don't seem to mind it. I just think it kind of forces you into a position which I don't like, which is guessing at the fucking end of the game.
Yeah.
And nobody likes guessing it. I don't know. Maybe some people do. Maybe I am too much of a tryhard, and I should redirect my efforts somewhere else. But yeah, it just feels weird to me. But maybe whatever. We'll leave that. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Barber can die early.
If the Barber hides it and they don't get found out, it also rewards them. So yeah, there's different ways to look at it. So
yeah. So moving on from the we have a Saint Leech.
The first Saint we've seen is what Saint Leech is pretty good. The game ends twice.
Yeah. Don't love that one. How do you check it, right? You got to figure it out at the end of the game. So you got to find a leech. If you're gonna have a Saint Leech, you got to find the leech because you don't even know if there's a chance.
You can't even stay quiet as a Saint on this script. I don't think either. So it's just like.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a good one though. I don't know. It's hard for town. I don't know. Oof. Oh man.
It's a choice.
I like how bad it makes me feel. I guess
it's definitely like Final 3, but you could have 2 options in Final 3 if you don't even know if it's a leech game, and that feels kind of whatever. Not to mention, this might not even matter until the Barber gets killed, where they do fucking try to host the Saint or they move off it. Like it's rough. It's a lot of guessing, and I think when you're getting into guessing, not social reads, not mechanical info, just guessing, that's when the game becomes kind of stale for me. That's when I'm not having fun. But whatever. Sometimes it's just silly, stupid shit. But it does reduce the replayability.
Could just Saint Summoner also, right? You could legitimately have started as a Saint and then got summoned and now you're the demon. And
yeah, that's another thing.
Like the demon bluffing Saint.
Same idea. Same idea.
Yeah.
How about the townsfolk? So we've already mentioned some of the protection roles. There is a philosopher on here. I guess we can consider that as we look at all these. We have the old Knight Vortox.
Yeah, Knight Vortox is fine. I've been the Vortox that was seen by Knight. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, that's probably okay. I mean,
Knight is interesting because I've heard a lot of feedback on Knight's useless because they get the one they know that these 2 people aren't the demon. If it's a summoner game, they could then become the demon. But at the same time, you know those people didn't start as a demon.
We looked through these. There's no outsider manipulation on this script at all.
Godfather.
Oh, I lied.
Godfather.
I lied.
And
that was added.
Yeah, you got the Godfather. So.
Yeah, that was added. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Sorry, ignore that whole statement. I was looking at my old notes.
Noble is the first time we've seen it here.
Let's go back to Sailor real quick. Oh wait, we didn't talk about Sailor yet. Yeah, go ahead and do your Noble.
I mean, this is the first time we've seen it. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. 3 players, one and only one of which is evil. I mean, it's a good evil bluff in a summoner game. Again, it's another one of those things that gets people off your back because people like to execute into the noble pings. It's good for town. If you're looking at those 3 people and you think one might be an evil player, just watch what they're doing.
Do you think it's strong enough for this script? I mean, there's a lot of misinfo, and the Noble is already vague info in a way.
Yeah, I think like the write-up says, it's all.
It's probably fine. It's just something.
Yeah, it's a lot of hazy confirming, with caveats. So
I would love to see a town crier replace the Noble.
Interesting. Yeah, town crier.
It would give you info on the minions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably a very strong thing in a summoner script.
And more of these, exactly for that, because on day 2 you have some info maybe where the summoner is, You have a chance to maybe
That
win the game.
That might be
but
why
it's not
you don't
guaranteed.
see it, Hosian, is because you might.
Well, you
solve
only
the
get one
summoner
day.
Yeah, you only get
You
one
only
day.
get one day.
I know, but I think everyone thinking this was a summoner themed script, they're trying to keep the summoner around.
But they ain't
They
even
didn't
got a
want any
vote.
chance.
I still think it's
Or
not
nominated.
guaranteed.
It's not bad. No, I think this. I'm looking at the script, and the script feels more SNV than anything, and I think it would fit just fine in here. I think Noble's fine too, though.
I think most of us consider the what was the Town Crier a pretty weak character on most scripts. But on scripts where the minions matter, like a little monster or a summoner, I think the Town Crier needs to have a resurgence. My opinion.
Yeah. I think Town Crier is good. Yeah, I just don't. I think Noble's fine too here.
Yeah, Noble's fine. The empath does
Can we
its
talk
thing.
The Village Idiot. Normally I love Village Idiot. I don't know if it's a great combo with Empath Noble.
Yeah, it's a lot
Like too
doing
much-
the same
much-
thing.
Yeah, it's a
alignment.
lot of detecting evil, but in the Village Idiots, they just look for the empath neighbors. They look for all three noble pings.
Too much directing,
It just
right?
feels like, it feels like those guys work together. They end up maybe finding a lot of.
It's a good
evils.
point. Empath Village Idiot might be something people. need
I'd
to
probably
think
take
about.
out Village Idiot.
I
on
tend to
this
keep
one.
those away from each other too. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For your reasons. I think Shugenja works better with that kind of scenario because then you're pointing generally, but
And it's
Village Idiots have to
arbitrary.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, it has an ambiguous aspect to it as well.
That's a good point. I'm looking at Sailor though. I don't think this script needs Sailor. I think there's enough misinfo going on.
I think this is the classic. There's a
Probably
lead,
for the
so
leech.
I'm gonna put the
Yeah.
Sailor on here.
And you know my
It's a
thoughts
very
on
common
that.
thing.
I don't think it's ever needed. I think what you're doing is making everybody think the Sailor's the leech for no fun to town at all. What is the
I
benefit?
think it's. I think it's fine on here. It doesn't hurt the script. It doesn't help.
I guess there is one positive. If they survive execution, you never kill them again. So they're not a kill target. I guess they could become the demon
Joe?
later.
Yeah, I was like, do you not kill them?
Well, don't test the
Summoner.
Sailor till day 3.
There you go. Summoner.
That's all you got to say is the Summoner, though, is a bluff. I'm just the Sailor. You don't want to test me till day 3. What if I get confirmed? All right, fine. I like it. Mathematician is working with the reasons for the other ones then. So let's look at our sources of misinfo. We got Vortox 1, Leech 2, Spy 3, Poisoner 4. We skip Drunk.
Yep.
So we do Philosopher 5. Technically, you get into weird territory, but Exorcist, Monk 6, 7. Village Idiot procs itself. Sailor 8. So that's 8 sources of misinformation. That's a lot. So yeah, the Mathematician is probably very useful in this script. Now the Exorcist, Monk, they count when they stop a kill because a kill was supposed to happen, so it procs it.
That's good. I mean, that could end the game immediately, but that's, math is good on this script, I think.
Yeah, it's doing some work. Or they can get a fucking 0 and do nothing. But that's still
I
good.
love Monk Vortox. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, Monk Vortox. I don't really have much else to say. Philosopher seems fine. A lot of good options. Is there an optimal philosophizing? Maybe the Village Idiot we talked about early on.
Philo, Village
Idiot,
Idiot
usually.
that picks themselves night 1 is probably the most optimal play you could make on this script.
I've come around to not caring about it as much, but I do think it's strong.
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the be all, and I think it's not super strong compared to just making yourself an empath or something. So it's.
I mean,
don't
isn't it
one
similar to making a bounty hunter? Well, I guess you don't know exactly who's evil, but
yeah, if
you
don't
going
check
if you pick
yourself,
someone who's evil.
if you don't check yourself first, you don't know anything. You could also just be the drunk. The drunk does a lot of heavy lifting here with that optimal play.
Yeah.
But so there will always be a question if you're doing it, if you're right or wrong. So I
Yes,
think it's fine.
And the cannibal is doing some work here too. The only roles that survive execution would never give the cannibal a good ability anyway. The
I think cannibal eating a village idiot is probably the strongest thing on here because they
getting another artist question is fun. Like that's a good.
That
combo.
is fun too. Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, I think that overall this is a pretty good script.
Yep, I would be psyched to play this.
I don't have any problems with this script. Is there anything that kills it for you, Hosian?
Kills it? No.
I
But
think
I
the
think it's
Exorcist is maybe a
quite
little overpowered. There's just not enough reasons for no deaths, but
Yeah,
whatever. Sometimes you get a really strong ability.
I mean that's balanced by the fact that like
Kill him, right? Kill him.
they might pick the demon the day they get summoned and then have to wait 2 days to pick that player again.
that is the case.
Yeah.
Did I miss any of my own thoughts? So, not a lot of roles that see roles, because you do have a spy on here, so the spy's not using. The spy's not really using their ability.
No, they have to come up with alternate things rather than I am the dreamer, I am the grandmother. That's fine.
Yeah. Oh, he had a flower girl and fortune teller, but it looks like he fixed that, so that's good. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with whatever you did for these changes. Cool. So let's keep that there. All right, next script. We'll come back to it. It was Zarst. We'll go to Rainy. Did Rainycap we already did?
We did Rainy.
Yeah, we did Rainy. We got Collins to do.
Yeah.
Oh, Rainycap's was the Leviathan.
Nolan, Zarst?
Yeah. We have Danny we can do now because Danny sent me his updated one.
Yay. Sending the stuff.
So we'll be a little quicker on these guys since they were late. I'm confirmed though.
One good thing about Danny is he has the exact same outsider combination as Josh, so we kind of already did it.
Hell yeah.
It's good. Outsiders
Okay.
good.
We have our first instance of Devil's Advocate. Devil's Advocate. I love Devil's Advocate on the right
DA
scripts.
Leech. DA Leech.
I don't love Devil's Advocate Leech. I don't hate it. I've seen it now multiple times on different things. First thing I'm looking for when I see that is it possible for the Leech host to move at all? The answer is only the Summoner, in which case, it's starting at that point anyway.
Yeah.
We've already talked through that. Don't see anything else that would cause that, right? So maybe this is, while extreme and difficult for town, probably okay. Kill the DA, and then the problem is half solved. It is a lot of executions on the same players, though, to try to figure out if they're the Leech hosted. Yeah. It's a game, but it is a social game, right? I think it's fine. That's really all my thoughts on the minions.
Baron's good here.
Yeah, Baron's good.
Demons again are great.
Yeah, demons are good. I think the Oho is, like you mentioned, it's a good one to bring in so you definitely don't die right away because they're not going to pick an evil player, you hope. But I'm looking, there's not really any negative thing with that. The Poe is strong. It's outed on this script. There's literally no other reasons for deaths except for assassin.
We've got quite the townsfolk. I'm looking forward to getting there.
You'll love it. So the Poe is doing a lot of work on here for killing and very outed when it happens. The Imp is just classic. Everybody likes the Imp. So if I'm the Summoner, I'm picking Leech or Poe. That's my thought.
Oh, really? Yep. I don't think there's any wrong choice. I think you see what's going on with town.
Yeah.
And go from there, I think.
Speaking of town, let's go to the outsiders. So you mentioned all of these are the same exact ones we saw on Josh's. Is that what it was?
Yep, all good.
All right, we like all these good lunatics having at least some fun because there is a magician on here, so we can keep them guessing.
We'll get back to that.
All right. Now, moving on to the townsfolk. So let's go to the magician. What is the issue with the magician sandwiches?
All right, Joe. If I'm the summoner and I hear I have a demon, I immediately know who the magician is. You've already forced me as the ST. I cannot. There's something I just can't do, right? Though it's hate jinx because it's stupid.
It is. So, it's not a very compatible role, that's for sure.
No. If I'm the magician and I find out at the end of the game that there was a summoner, I'm mad.
Yeah.
Or you've just shown the summoner who to pick, right? They could go to them. You create an interesting game. The one interesting game is where they go to them and they talk about it, but that requires the magician to be a very specific person.
Yeah. Because they're just not a strong role. They don't have any ability.
Feels like it needs a jinx, right? With Summoner, where the Summoner learns another minion instead of the demon.
If you want value, you need to swap the magician straight up for a poppy grower if you want value.
If you're looking for confusion, you just want a poppy grower here. And then you're good. You're good.
You don't even have to think about it. You can make an Oho, let the storyteller pick the Oho, and they can kill the poppy grower right away.
You got a DA going wild. No idea who they're picking, what's going on. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. We're good on that. Also, pixies should never be made mad as the magician, but it is funny. Anyway. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. Anyway. Librarian is fine. Shugenja's fine on this script. Pixie is, let's see if there's any terrible things. No, these are all fine except for the magician. Woman. High Priestess. Who the fuck are they seeing on night one? Pixie. So we have Philosopher, Snake Charmer, Sailor, maybe, if they picked a evil player. I guess basically the top 6 roles, minus the High Priestess.
Maybe
Philosopher.
Amnesia, or depending what your Amnesia.
Who's the High Priestess going to after night 1 is my question.
Fucking the leech host every day. That's.
Yeah, what is?
Hannibal?
Yeah, that's actually the more.
They're actually just gonna
interesting
go to the magician every day.
There's not enough each night rolls on this script.
Yeah, I
at
think
all,
High
period.
Priestess gots to go. If you're gonna keep it the way it is, High Priestess isn't serving much of a purpose besides, hey, here's a good player, and
one
I don't
day,
like
yeah.
that. I don't like that at all. So
No.
remove that, in my opinion, and maybe it gets fixed when you add a Poppy Grower or something. We do have a Fool on here with the Sailor, with the Leech. Do we need this much coverage? What is the Fool?
Again.
Oh,
I
DA
think
as
It
well.
feels
Yeah.
like the Leech might need to leave.
Sorry, there's a DA. I
'cause-
forgot.
Yeah, there's a DA. There's also a Pixie, a Cannibal, and then a Snake Charmer that could grab the Leech ability. It feels like it
Which is
could be
hilarious.
impossible for
I think
Town
there's
to
too
solve.
many. Yeah, I
Too
think
many
there's-
things that can't die.
I think Fool and
Uh,
Sailor being up there is just one too many.
Yeah.
Feels
the
like
the Virgin is another weird one. So I've only seen it once, but
I've seen it. Yep, Full
a
version.
Leech hosted player who nominates the Virgin
God.
and ends the game does not feel the
That
best.
too.
But it
A
is fun.
mechanically confirmed Fool and a Leech hosted player, both not great, just for
Yeah.
the state of the game.
And there's a lot of mechanical stuff going on, right? We have, I guess, the Virgin, the Fool, the Sailor. If any of them proc, they're not the Leech host, at least in their own
Yet.
worlds.
Or in those games, yeah, and then they're
Yeah.
not the demon yet.
Yeah, the yet part is strong. There's no way for the demon to move, as we talked about, except for the demon, the imp, right? They're the only ones, so
Yeah.
it's not the worst thing in the world. It's probably fine. There just is not a lot of info on the script.
Yeah, there's
Snake
not
Charmer's
there's-
playing high stakes betting here.
Each night, this is a more social game, right? You've got the mayor on here, like you've got a magician. I think this was more geared towards a social game rather than a mechanically solving game, which
Yeah.
is fine. But this might trend too far in that direction and be
Yeah.
a lot of guessing. Amni's doing a lot of work here. I think as storyteller, you're probably balancing the game around the Amni.
Amni feels like it was added in after the fact. The script's not complete, in my opinion, and I think the Amni doesn't.
That's
even
what the
need to be
Amni's
on
doing,
there.
right? Yeah. Well, I feel like the Amni's like, something needs to happen in this grim.
Not that this is the
Amni.
worst script in the world, Danny, but Amnesiac is not a band-aid for a script. It should be
Yeah.
in there as
People
a
treat it that way.
well-thought-out thing. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't have much else to say on this one.
Yep.
All right. Well, it looks like it'd be fun, Danny. I would love to at least run this once if we haven't already.
I would play this. Every script we've looked at, I would play it.
Yeah, these are all silly fun. I'd love to try Rainy's ridiculous fucking Leviathan.
I ran it.
Just see
That's
how
great.
goes. Did it go well? I heard Rainy was
Leviathan
shitting
won.
on himself afterward. Did he?
Yeah,
man.
let's just want-
Okay, where is
I heard
the
Rainy
next
said,
one?
"I want the summoner to always be in play," so I immediately made a Leviathan game.
Oh my, love that. Okay, Nolan didn't send his, so we're gonna ignore it. I'll come back to it. Dealer's choice. I do have Collins though.
Let's go.
All right, Collins, the much anticipated. He finally sent it over to me. Let me check and see if I did get Nolan's and I'm just wrong. Okay, he did drop. Oh, he's not home yet to send it. So if he gets home in time, whatever. I believe after this one, this is the last script that we need to look at besides Nolan's and Zarst. We'll definitely look at Zarst after we're done.
Its own video.
Yeah. All right. Dealer's Choice by Collin. Let's look at our little write-up here. So I believe Collin's ran this for us a few times and done some changes. Here's his write-up. Summer just created a space where now Town has potentially 2 worlds in one game. One world pre-Night 3, one post-Night 3. Outsiders can provide information upon death, but can also create an evil win condition with the Damsel. Kill the Barber on Night 1 to risk a Godfather death, or leave them until the end of the game. Drunk can help the evil team if needed based on what is put in the bag. Lycanthrope can mess with the abilities such as the Acrobat if an Odashi is created. Okay, jump straight to it. Acknowledges the thing that we're going to talk about, the Damsel Barber Godfather scenario.
Yeah.
You want me to just get into that?
I think we should because we've seen most of it. It's like we've seen all these minions.
Yeah.
We're okay with them.
I have one of our videos. I don't remember which one it is. If I was better at procking and remembering and fucking linking, I would do that, but I don't give a shit. The Godfather. If the Godfather gets a kill that night, they killed an outsider. If the demon is woken up to swap 2 players, they know that the Barber has died. If that didn't happen, and it's a 2 outsider game of a damsel and a barber, you know that the damsel was just killed. If you know that the damsel was just killed, and you know a barber is in game, and you ever killed a barber, you just swap that damsel back into play, win the game next day.
Yeah.
So scenario is 2 outsiders, damsel, barber, godfather kills that night that the damsel dies. That's the scenario. How do you feel about that?
Godfather can add an outsider, so there's a high chance that they're in play, right? Like,
yeah.
If you have a 3 outsider game.
3 outsiders better than 2 in this world, by the way, because at least then it might have been a drunk or an acrobat, as long as they're not outing it. But yeah, I mean, here's some of the problem. There's not a lot of claim space on here either after the damsel dies. And when you do die, you want to out that you're the damsel, right? It helps town solve worlds. So they're like, well, how do we get an extra kill? Well, only the evil team knows, right?
Yeah.
If the Godfather goes off. I actually don't see it as too big of a problem, but it does increase the complexity of the script way up. I'm not playing this with even like seasoned players. I'm playing this with veterans, like people who want chaos and fucking have to play around not chaos, but they want the most complex interactions that they can solve through.
And you want the players to know that, right? Because if I'm the barber in a game, I personally as a barber risk the Godfather kill immediately just so we get the damsel switch out of the way immediately.
Yeah.
If I'm the damsel, I never come out. And I hope that the role that I picked wasn't seen as a demon bluff and isn't in play. There's no village idiot on here, so...
just to be clear, you don't need the Godfather for this to take place. If the damsel dies and they out as damsel and there's a barber in play, can still happen. It's just, it could be mechanically confirmed that they killed the damsel.
Yeah.
One of the only other counters I can think is if there's a bounty hunter, because then the demon might not know who the evil townsfolk is. And if they, but if they switch the damsel with the evil townsfolk, then they lose when they pick the damsel.
That's funny and silly, and I love it. Okay, so that was that. We got that out of the way. All the other ones, I like everything I see here from the minion side. I think these are fine.
Yeah. Demons are good too.
Demons are good. No optimal play. Fangu, we talked about this earlier, but the Fangu can suck if it's got no extra outsiders. But there is the fun Godfather scenario that it just gets an even another extra outsider. Okay, the outsiders. We have an acrobat. Where are the multi-kills coming from? So we have Gossip, Gambler. We have Poe and Godfather and Acrobat. That's it. Now, that's enough. What are your thoughts? What are you saying?
I was just saying Poe as well.
Now the Acrobat, I am a big fan of the Acrobat if there's just enough poisoning and the Gossip combo. Because you don't know if it's because your Gossip worked or if because somebody was, drunk poison, good player next to the Acrobat. I like that. I think that's
I initially thought it was too confirming, but with the Gossip and the Poisoner and the Drunk, I think there's enough for the Acrobat here to be have to be figured out. It's not just a simple this happened, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, and if the storyteller really wants to be a cheese dick and force it, they could just put the Drunk next to the Acrobat, right? And force the kill.
Or register the spy as the Drunk and kill the Acrobat.
That's actually a good question. I don't know if that's legal.
I don't know.
Because here's my understanding. The Drunk is both an outsider that is the drunk or whatever, and they have a status of drunk.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if you could.
Don't know. But I think
this is something I got to write down now. I got to figure
I think there's enough worlds around it that you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, if you could, it just adds one more thing you could do with the Acrobat that's interesting. But otherwise, I think it's fine.
Ever since people got shitting on the spy and I threw it on my crazy script, everybody's like, damn, the spy could do a lot of stuff. This is one more thing I have to figure out if it can do, because that's really good. Knew.
Trouble Brewing's really good.
Yeah. There's a reason you'll see almost all the Trouble Brewing minions out there. They're just so useful and quiet. Yeah. Okay, so we're happy with these. We're happy with the outsiders. Townsfolk, any big ones jump out at you?
Librarian could lose the game.
There is no huntsman, right? That's probably a big thing to take away from this.
A librarian that sees the damsel, though, again, can just end the game if they become the demon. It's another problem.
Yeah. Do you believe
again, you're
that
forcing your ST?
What's your thoughts on a stranded damsel? We didn't really talk about this previously.
I think it's fine. I assume base level of play up to our player level. So minus the barber swap damsel stuff, I trust any of our players to be able to handle damsel fine. Even
What
with this
about-
small claim space?
Yeah, the claim space, this is, again, higher complexity, and the need for that is you have to let people double claim. You have to, because it could just be
That's
a damsel
the
hiding.
one issue is the only double claiming is claiming to. It's not even a double claim. It's just saying you're the philosopher that chose something, and that could just be a bluff that the demon got.
Yeah.
No pixie on
So
this.
there's Raven Keeper and Snake Charmer that are also trying to hide. So there's
Yeah.
two possible. Are they the damsel? Are they the Raven Keeper? Are they the Snake Charmer?
Yeah.
I think there is a few rules that Dreamer, Empath, Fortune Teller.
Oh, yeah.
These are all roles that might try to hide, and therefore it's like, are they the damsel or are they one of these other powerful townsfolk?
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, we
I
do have
trust
the
the
whole
players.
damsel
Yeah.
spy thing, right? So
Yep, that's good.
That's fun. We like that.
Talked about that, yep.
Okay. So we do have the Gambler. We talked about how much fun that is. We have the
Great.
Gossip. We've got
Great.
Snake Charmer, Fortune Teller. I like those. Again, even though they serve a similar purpose, one is mechanically like, it's going to be a rough day after they hit.
Yeah.
And
We
they don't
haven't
even
gone
know.
over Savant, have we? I think Savant's a good one because you could start as
Savant.
the sober Savant who's trying to win this game, who suddenly becomes the demon and has to make up Savant info. And some people hate making up Savant info.
Yeah.
And now your summoner has forced you to
Maybe
play.
this is the strongest version of the Savant, where you already have at least 2 days of storyteller information where you know their vibe and it sounds legit, and now you're changed, so at least you know how they give info. That might be really useful. But yeah, the Savant information that you could be given in a Summoner game just expands the amount of, storyteller space for having fun on their end, right?
Yep.
You could point out certain
You could give
things
them
that
super
lead to that.
strong info and make the summoner make the decision.
Yeah.
And now they've run into a weird situation. I think Savant's pretty good with summoner.
Yeah. Philo, any issues with Philo?
Nope, they have good stuff. There's no optimal.
Similar to Sex and Violets. It's
You
not
pick.
too-
I mean, aside from Philo, Snake Charmer, there's no optimal play here. So you do whatever you
Yeah.
want.
Raven Keeper's fun. There's no... Yeah, it's a good bluff for the Poe.
How do you feel about
Sorry,
Virgin
the Imp and the
Cannibal?
Fingo. It's fine. It's fine. Here's the issue. On day 3 is when the new demon will be there, right? So
Yeah.
the likelihood of a Cannibal and a Virgin both proccing before that happens are pretty low. It's similar to the Professor's situation where you have to execute, then do it that day. It's like, if it's still working, they're probably not that role.
Could have a Philo
it's strong.
Virgin, a Cannibal, and a Virgin.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You get Greek.
It's great.
Oh, yeah. Cannibal can get it twice, right? Because then they could eat the Philo.
Yeah. That's
And then go Virgin.
Oh
It's
my
so
God.
stupid. And the Spy could also die, register as the Virgin, and give the... That's
But
so
you
stupid.
probably have a poisoner somewhere
No.
or a drunk, so hopefully that doesn't happen.
Hopefully the Spy has eaten up all these fake virgins out there. That's what they gotta do. Like, nope, you're not a virgin. I pinged you. Otherwise, yeah, I actually enjoy this. I think this is a fine script.
Can I
Any-
mention an interesting
go for it.
combination? The Shigenja Empath. Just how it's laid out. You don't really have a choice on that, in the online app. Shigenja Summoner Empath or Shigenja Demon Empath outside of no Dashi. That's probably going to end the game right away, right?
I mean, Shugenja
Dashi's probably going to win the game, but anything else.
I'll tell you, this
Sometimes-
script's a lot better than the previous iteration, because he had, Lycanthrope and Ravenkeeper together, stuff like that.
Sometimes the
Monk.
Shugenja is just going to end summoner games, and I think that's fine. It's just, it'll happen. you know?
Yeah.
The same
think-
with an empath, if it's boom, 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 you can't even try to get a. I mean, you can. You could say one of them are evil.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is an evil play, but it's tough.
Oh, overall, what are you guys' thoughts on this script?
Like it. Like
I'm
it
a
lot.
fan.
I like it.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil that, but this is my top 3. I like this one.
This is
With
one
the
of mine
with the
as well.
changes. The previous script sucked, Collin. It fucking sucked. You need to go back to school. Learn to read.
This is a good
my
script.
goodness.
All right. I guess we can look at Nolan's. If he sent it, he did not. So I don't know what to do with that.
He's
That's
out.
all right. Sorry, Nolan. Did we look at Zarst? Yeah, let's have some fun, and then we'll do the end of this thing.
Yeah, let's just go over Zarst.
Let's fucking do it. Let's go. Okay, Zarst. Upload.
Read his write-up, please.
Yes, we will. So, the community, Zarst is pretty liked in the community. He's around. He's probably in a lot of servers.
Zarst
so
is a fun player to play with.
He's
Everybody,
great.
if
Very
you haven't played with Zarst, play with Zarst. Yeah.
This
All right.
script screams Zarst.
Yeah,
Yes.
this actually, yes, this is the art of an artist, right? This is You're seeing inside of Zarst's brain as if you wanted to do that, right?
Yep.
So here it is. All right, his write-up. A script where few would volunteer to be executed, but someone needs to step up or town will start pointing fingers. Warning, the script may be favoring evil a lot. That's fucking telling us something. And it's meant to. I feel while Summoner is a fun role, for some, it does make some script compositions hard to balance. So I've given evil a few options. Storytellers running this should take this into account. There's no spirit of ivory. As evil may need extra sacrifices to survive. We'll come back to that. I have many thoughts. Yeah. There's a lot of protection rolls in confirmation. Now, he's also encouraged us. I'm going to pull the, it's already out, the fucking fables that are in this script. Multiple. We have a Fibbin that's recommended, a Sentinel.
I don't think a lot of people have seen the Fibbin.
And a Stormcatcher. Yeah, I'm actually going to go into the Fibbin and the Stormcatcher a little too. Stormcatcher is for the king. So in his world, the king can only die from execution, which is interesting. But he's also opted to give us traveler choices. I'm not going that deep. So, okay.
But thank you.
Let's, yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't even have traveler suggestions on most of my scripts until I feel like it's completely done.
I'll think about it.
Cool. So right off the bat, we have Zombul, Alhad, Vortox, Lamonsta with the summoner. I'm skipping the minions. We'll come back to those. But okay, we have Zombul, Alhad.
Zombul summoner is not good.
It's not fun, is what it seems.
It's not fun for the demon that gets made. It's
Yeah.
not fun for the evil team. You never want to make one as a summoner unless you're just being weird. It's just not.
I find it to be interesting myself, but when I ran it, it was unfun for the players, and it seemed like a different option was more interesting for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the Alhad again, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Really, you're just
Especially
looking at
with the
Vortox
Vortox.
monster.
Yeah, I think with Vortox, it's gonna have a hard time blending in. Maybe with Little Monster, but definitely Alhad, Zombul.
Right?
Like-
There's a solvable.
You know,
almost
those
solvable.
two aren't in, right?
Or you're forcing the Vortox to sink kills every day. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird
So-
mix of demons, and I get the idea. I think a lot of people think the summoner is a pit hag that can just arbitrarily change the demon day to day. But no, you're locking in one world that will not change after day 3. That's what a lot of people are doing when they put Leviathan and Alhad and all this bullshit on there. It's locked in. There's no changing that,
Yeah.
right? So not my favorite set of any of these demons, honestly, together as a team. I think drop Alhad, Zombul, put Imp, Fangu, something like that, and you could make it work. But there's way more than that. Let's go back to the minions. We have a Harpy. Okay,
Talk about
Harpy. Is there enough on here for that to work? Without judging too much on it. All I see is the bounty hunter. Jesus
it.
Christ. Cult Leader's not going to come out and say, I'm evil, my neighbor needs to die. Like, what the
You can
fuck?
claim,
No, not if
you
they're
can
across
claim
the
your
grim.
Lycan. You can claim your Lycan that went for that person.
Not night one.
Night 1, Hosian. See, I would get you
Night one,
murdered.
no.
You fucking, I'd be
Yeah.
like, he's either mad right now or he's a baddie. Let's get him.
If you have a nice ST, maybe you can be like, I'm a tea lady, and I have a feeling that one of my neighbors is evil.
So
That
night one, I just say that this person came to me with a Mez word, and I'm not gonna change.
you have 2 things you can do. Yeah, it's not great.
So my thought right now is Harpy gotta go. It doesn't even belong. I didn't even have these thoughts originally, but it really is just a tough... Now, this is just using mechanical information, and the reason is most players in the community seem to play mechanically first and like socially second. You could always Harpy socially mad somebody. Like that
Yeah,
is
right? You can
definitely
just,
doable.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not considering that. I'm trying to make it
No.
easy for the evil team. People like Alexis absolutely fucking hate the Harpy because it depends on how both me, the ST, run it and how they are interacting with it. And
I
it can
think
be
you have
very
to think
hard.
of it as you as the Harpy, right? You want your ability to matter and to muddle town, then the ST needs to be strict with the madness, honestly. Same with Theranovus, right? Like, you want your ST to help you because you're the minion. And, yeah, reward town sometimes for getting around it in interesting ways, but at the end of the day, you've just sat there as an evil player doing nothing. And that doesn't feel fun for them.
Yeah, 100%. The Mezephiles. Well, I like the Mezephiles. Not on this
Love
one,
it.
but I like
One
it.
of my favorite minions in the game.
Yeah. I don't have anything negative about the Mezephiles to say directly. about the Mazeplis.
No, I mean it runs the risk in certain circles of getting killed immediately, I guess.
Let's pull off the Band-Aid. There's no fucking Spirit of Ivory. You have a Hatter who can bring the Mazeplis to another player, pop off. A Plague Doctor, if we're really going ham, and the story tells you, hey, there's no fucking Spirit of Ivory, fuck it. A Bounty Hunter who's creating an evil townsfolk. A cult leader. Like, I'm not voting on any cults. What the fuck? Not on this script. Are you shitting me? No fucking way. There's not even anything really, if you're looking around. Who tells me who a good player is?
The tea lady, basically.
No, they don't. There's a fucking DA.
There's a DA. Yeah, this is a mess.
This is crazy. But it's still interesting. Okay, so fine. That's the minions. Let's go
the professor. The professor can prove that somebody's good.
No, they can't. It says townsfolk. Not good townsfolk. Townsfolk.
Oh, it does say townsfolk. I forgot.
That is 3 evil players from the Mez, the Bounty Hunter, and the Cultist being revived by the Professor. Just to say thank you. Appreciate you. You're awesome. Yeah, so that's stuff. But we also have some issues with Poppy Grower Magician. Without looking at anything else, they're serving a similar purpose. Not the exact same purpose.
Yeah, similar to the point of only one needs to be on here. Also, again, we've been over the Magician. Summoner just doesn't.
Not a fan of that. Not to mention, Sandwich has already lambasted the Magician Summoner. It just doesn't do anything, right? It's not fun.
I think Magician's already a very fragile role on most scripts it's on.
Yeah.
And
we have a player that particularly hates the Magician for, I still can't figure out the exact reason, but
I think because of how feeble it is, right? And it's just like it needs to shine on the scripts it's on, and if it doesn't, you're just a useless character that's not doing much. So
yeah. So yes, that's where we're at the moment with that.
Sage, Ravenkeeper, also similar purposes.
Yeah. Lycanthrope, they're on here, right? With the Ravenkeeper.
With the Alhad and a Zomboul.
Yes.
Alhad is very bad. Zomboul feels bad.
Why is it bad, Jose? Why is it bad with the Alhad? What is the Lycanthrope?
It's bad because the Alhad's going to wake up, you're going to hear the Alhad pick, and then someone's going to die that isn't the Alhad pick. And you're going to go, well, the Lycanthrope's proven, and, you know, to control the Alhad. The whole purpose of the Alhad, like, they can't hide. They take away their whole ability.
Yep.
I mean,
it's pretty funny.
And proving themselves.
I gotta say, Zarst, I would play this once just to see how.
The longer we look at this, the more I want to like sit in this madness, but I don't think it's a good script.
Yeah, I think this does need the Spirit of Ivory. We're gonna talk about the Fabled in a second, but let's finish up the townsfolk. So Lycanthrope is a little strong on here.
Yeah. Do we talk about King and No Choir Boy?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a Stormcatcher, but yeah, go ahead and talk about King
that's
Choir
right.
Boy.
You did mention the Stormcatcher.
So King
he specifically has it that way.
If the Harpy's in play, they're after day one, they're getting Harpy mad every day.
Because there's no Choir Boy, right? So you just punish the King.
No choir. You're just trying to kill the King. You just kill the King, honestly.
Now here's the issue, Sandwiches. Harpy cannot kill through Stormcaught.
No. I'm living in a non-Stormcaught world. I understand.
Oh, I see.
Like, yeah. With Stormcaught, it's a Stormcaught King, and that is what it is. Either they're the King or they're not. It's a binary 1 or 2. So
yeah, and that's the scenario. And I get it. Actually, I like the idea of a Stormcaught King. I think that's fun. Can be fun.
Yeah, but that is its own script competition, I think, and it's not this.
Yeah. So let's leave that aside. We have Pacifist T-Lady. That's for the DA, right?
Yeah, Pacifist T-Lady and DA.
Yeah.
Pacifist might never proc.
Yeah, with the amount of evil.
Only on itself if they're good.
Pretty funny, honestly. Did I have like real thoughts on this that can help? A lot of stuff we already said. All right, let's talk about these goddamn Fable down here. Fibbin. Yep. Most of you out there probably haven't even seen a Fibbin before. Yeah. A Fibbin, the purpose of the Fibbin, it's script support. So you can make any script you want if it's a fun script. The idea is that the Sentinel, the Fibbin, they're there to help support a script that might be lacking some things. Because not every character exists right now, and you have ideas of characters you want to put together. Maybe it stands on its own with these things coming into play. The Fibbin allows one piece of misinformation once per game. Right? It's one piece of a good player gets misinformation once per game. It's used in lieu of poisoning and droisoning and all that. So the reason it's here, I would assume, is that Zarst has just a Vortox for misinfo from the evil side. And there is a drunk, though. I mean, there's enough for me, that the fibbing is actually, even if I'm being generous, not required. Not to mention the amount of evil just lying.
Yeah, right.
You don't need it.
I don't think there's any setup where you don't have multiple evils in this game.
Can you imagine you fibbing the bounty hunter day one just because you're an asshole?
You might actually on this trip turn the bounty hunter evil because you don't want an extra evil.
Or just because the king, they get their one piece of info for the entire game and you fibbing it. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh boy. And
as if all the evil townsfolk would even say that they're that townsfolk when they say they saw it.
Yeah. The Stormcatcher I'm okay with. I don't have any thoughts on it. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's fun. It's its own scripting though.
Sentinel's also fine. There's no outsider manipulation on here. Whatever.
Yeah, that's personal opinion, I think. Yeah, it's personal preference.
So yeah, this is probably my top script.
I stamp it, winner. Let's go.
Hosian, thoughts?
Uh,
All right.
Hosian's overruled. All right.
I think that's all of them, unless Nolan was able to get there. Nolan said he didn't fix it yet. So
I still would play every single script we've looked at.
I would even try Nolan's. That's a little busted. We could look at Nolan's for like 5 seconds, I guess, just to give him fairness. So he's
we
got
could talk
rocks.
about it. We just wouldn't be able to show it on screen, right? Or maybe you can.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't told us what he's changing. Oh, he never made the JSON.
Oh.
He never made the JSON. You know what? You're right, though. I could pull it up on my screen, and we could talk through it as long as you guys got it on your own screens.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
So it's on my screen right now, which means that at least people watching can see it. So
What is it called? Oh, I got it.
rocks fall, everyone dies. So, cool. Let's start with the minions, and let me pull up my write-up so we can do that normal. So Nolan, and this will be the last script, and then we'll do our little spiel at the end here. All right, I'm gonna read the write-up verbatim. I just threw something together. Hopefully it... Hold on. Hopefully it is playable. I wanted there to be as much death as possible, but I didn't literally just want people to die. There are some info roles to help the good team. I was going to make a custom role for Engineer and Summoner, and I'm wagging my finger. I'll nix Heretic and Acrobat. What should I do with Alchemist, Gossip, Alhad? With the fast game, I wanted powerful info gathering roles for good. The idea for Atheist was the ST could kill to simulate one of the many possible ways to die, but if that doesn't actually work, I can swap it out also. So his write-up is obviously more asking for, like, what should he do with the current script. But we're going to look at the current script. So, yeah, there's obviously some issues that jump out. First things first, there is a heretic. There is an atheist. Both exist. What happens, sandwiches, if it's an atheist with a heretic in the game?
I guess if you kill the storyteller, you lose.
Whatever the storyteller wants to fucking happen.
Okay, yeah, it's whatever the storyteller wants.
It's a fucking weird combo, but it's actually got some funny stuff that we could talk about in a minute. So let's go to the minions, right? So we don't have any backup killing stuff. There is no multi-kill on here outside of the demons. So the night 2, where there is no deaths, it's going to be telling, I guess. Let's go and look at them. So we have a psychopath, witch, poisoner outside of the summoner.
You have half loud, half quiet.
It's interesting. Right. If you get a witch kill and a psychopath goes off, could be a Yagababble, I guess. So maybe, you know what? Yagababble's on the script. Maybe it's not loud.
Maybe not. Yaga's actually doing a lot of work.
Yeah, Yaga's carrying the script right now. I'm thinking about it. There's a golem. There's that. Okay.
Yaga's good. This is a good instance of Yaga, but maybe
I'm okay
not.
with this, actually. So these are fun outsiders.
Yeah,
outsiders, minions.
The minions are good. The demons are...
Demons! My favorite. Alhad again. Why does everybody want to force the Alhad? It's not... Quit trying to make Alhadika happen. It's not going to happen.
I'm here for you. I champion it. It's fine.
There's a new one we haven't seen.
Yeah, now we've got... Let's go over Riot, Joe.
Oh, Riot! Do you want to explain how Riot works, Hosian?
Sure. In a typical game, Riot's supposed to be this fast game, and essentially you have a Riot script, and when you get to nominations, someone nominates someone, they die, and then they have to choose within 3 seconds to nominate someone else, or to stop nominating after day 3. If you haven't killed all Riot, which all the minions and all the demon are Riot, if you haven't killed them all, evil wins.
Okay, what if you summon in a riot on day 3?
Yeah, can you explain to me what happens
Yeah,
if you
that's
summon
what
a
I want to
riot?
know. I was wanting to ask that too. So if you summon a riot, that person becomes a riot. Now, what I don't see about on Ed's write-up is, it sounds he didn't mention if it's 3 days after the summon or if it's still day 3.
No,
If it's
day
still
3.
day 3,
It's still day
then
3.
all Evil has to do is stop killing once they get nominated, which means they will always win.
Yeah.
No, they have to nominate.
Unless,
So on day 3,
Oh, they have
if they
to
don't,
nominate?
yeah, they're
Everyone
required
must.
to, or the storyteller will do it
Everyone.
for them.
Yeah, all must.
got
do
it.
Which means they'll
But
do the
you're
thing you
right.
don't want.
If you summon a riot, the game is ending. One way or the
That
other.
day.
Yeah. From the
It's-
Jinx, if
it's
Summoner
pretty
creates Riot, the chosen player and all evil players become Riot. The chosen player must be one of the Summoner's good neighbors. But what about Riot on day 3? That's what we care about, is when they come into play late, right? We want to know, does it add another 3 days? I know Leviathan doesn't.
It
but
doesn't. Any
No.
role that looks at days, it cares about. the
Usually
day.
doesn't,
It
but
yeah,
it's
it
interesting
doesn't
that I
add.
don't see it in the write-up. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Did they
So
So
talk
there are some
about-
jinxes with Riot, by the way. So Riot can register as a minion specifically to the investigator. And the Golem, if they nominate a Riot, they do not kill the Riot. That is a very outed situation, which is fun. It is weird, though, because if that happens, the game ends because there's no way to kill that Riot. Because they've already been nominated. Right?
oh, right.
Day 3, a Golem nominates a Riot, and they don't die. There's no way to win now. You cannot kill all the Riot.
Yeah. We've been a good look into Nolan's world, because if you also look, there's an engineer on this script, and an engineer riot game is something.
Engineer
Nolan,
Summoner. is,
Engineer Summoner breaks the game.
yeah.
I'm always
The
going to
game
summon
immediately
away the
ends.
summoner. Yeah, always. Because why wouldn't I? But I think he's trying to carry that with the heretic. You know, there might be some Frankenstein bastard love child here that actually makes this
I
script
do
work.
think the heretic can work with summoner. I think that's interesting, but
Yeah, heretic engineer summoner.
that would be
It makes you not use it, right? It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, the script is interesting, but would it be fun? I don't, like,
I
whatever.
think
Riot,
it's too much chaos.
Riot needs to go, that's for sure. But otherwise, I would run this script at least once to show you guys what I can do. Like, I don't know.
I think I would play this without the atheist and just have the heretic, like the threat of a heretic. I would want one or the other. I would not want both. I don't think
It's
I've
a
ever
lot.
played in both. I don't
It's
think
a
I've ever
lot.
played in both. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think I don't have anything good to say about the atheist. Either one's got to go. Like either the heretic or the atheist. I'm happy with either one staying. And then there's potentially a weird ass script here that works.
Yeah.
I think atheist goes, heretic stays, and you have a funny situation.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I think we're more comfortable, and most players are comfortable with an atheist over a heretic, and I think that's just
I think do that. Add a sentinel to this so that nobody knows if there's a heretic in play or not, because there's no outsider manipulation anyway. And yeah, I think you'll have fun with this. There's a librarian that could confirm a heretic in play. I think this could be a fun heretic script. Remove
yeah, there's no
Riot,
drunk.
remove
So
atheist.
the librarian could just see the heretic. It could be poisoned, I guess, but
That's true. Anything wrong with the outsiders? Moonchild is just a confirming thing. Maybe Klutz would be better there.
Moonchild, yeah, Klutz. I think we've all agreed Klutz over Moonchild is probably the better choice. Otherwise, it's fine.
Yeah, it's
You're gonna make a
similar.
Summoner heretic. Maybe you throw on the Goon.
That's funny.
would
Yeah,
love
take
a
Moonchild
goon.
out, put Goon in if we're gonna go wild. I love that.
I would love a goon.
If we're gonna have some stupidness, let's go all in. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, go full on. Just put a goon out here.
Townsfolk, we've already acknowledged the engineer is bad with Summoner. Yeah. But
Poppy
again,
Grower Riot
Heretic.
game.
Poppy Grower Riot's silly and funny. Now, if the Summoner makes Riot, it's fine because they know who that Riot is. It's just the one new player.
Looking at one thing on here, the investigator was on here and it was on Moony's too. I think it's bold to put investigator on a summoner script, because do you ever show the investigator the summoner? between two
Heretic is
people?
carrying that.
You don't,
right?
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's carrying that interaction, so it's probably okay. Honestly, the fact that Heretic's on here is making me rethink my negativity on it.
I think Heretic is great with Summoner, and if you like playing Heretic, I think Summoner works well with it. I just don't think it works with the Atheist as well. I think it's one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. Gossip, Gambler, confirmable stuff here. I don't know about those, but Gossip is not doing a lot. The Poe is the only other. I guess Yaga. Never mind. Yaga's on here too.
Yep. Yaga's
That's
on here
fine.
for that.
Alchemist, who the Alchemist has some good stuff on here. And again, in a Heretic game, hilarious. That's when Alchemist
Yeah,
Summoner
in a
is
Heretic
funny.
game, yep, Alchemist Summoner Heretic game's great.
Alchemist Summoner makes Riot? What do they make good Riot? How does that work?
Who knows?
No, because there's a jinx. You have to do all the jinxes. If the Summoner makes Riot, then you have to follow that jinx. You're not going to like this.
What does it say? It says all evil becomes Riot.
Yeah,
Right?
so if you
Does
make...
it mean one
so you
good
don't...
Riot and the rest of them are evil?
So you're making an evil demon, and you're turning everybody into Riot. So if the Summoner creates Riot, that means if the Alchemist creates Riot, the chosen player and all evil players become Riot. So you get one good Riot, and all the evil players become evil Riot.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
But the chosen player must be one of the Summoner's living good neighbors.
What?
Yep.
What?
Wait,
it
the
says.
Summoner has to pick one of their living good neighbors if they pick
I think it's a
Riot?
signal to where the Riot is, because it's on day 3.
Huh.
I think it's creating a chef one on day 3 on purpose. I actually didn't know that was part of the jinx.
Because you don't really have any other information, right? You just
That
get
is
one
interesting.
base of information.
I didn't know that. I've never. Heard
I
that's
would
an
play this
interesting-
stupid ass script. I would play it.
like I said, I would play all these scripts. They're just
This
not
is
all
getting a
good. They're
badge.
not all
This
elite.
versus Zarst. This one's getting a little bit of an edge over Zarst. Just needs to remove the Atheist. I think drop
Yeah.
Atheist, add Cannibal or something stupid that's going to keep the game
Yeah.
dumb. Yeah, Cannibal with Heretics funny. Yeah, I think that would be fun. Yeah, honestly, that's my thoughts on this one. This is not going to win, Nolan, but this is hilarious, and I would play it. All right, any last thoughts on this, Hosian?
Nope. Is there anything else before we talk about winners? We want to talk about interesting summoner. I know, Sandwiches, you have a good list of characters. I don't know if we missed any.
I think
know
we
we
went
didn't
over-
get to
Oh.
see the goon.
So the
at
goon,
all?
right? What happens with the goon?
Yeah, we haven't
Okay,
seen the goon,
so
have we?
If you're a summoner and you're the first, and you're making a demon that night, and you're the first player to pick the goon, game's over. You've lost. That's interesting. If you're an outsider, outsiders are normally bad for town. You're bad for everybody. You're good for town in that one night, but you're bad for evil. It leads to an interesting bluff for good that normally wouldn't exist there, and it just shows another weird way that the summoner warps certain characters. I think people are scared to put instant losses on their scripts, but I think it's fine. I think it's a fun one to put on there and let it happen. See what people do around it, how it plays out, then make the decision if it's good or bad. Don't just avoid it immediately.
Well, I think what you can do. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. If we're still talking about the goon, go ahead.
Well, I think what you can do too is you can add other minions that go before the summoner, so Poisoner,
You should,
Serenolus,
yeah. A
etc.
good script would
So
have
that way, a summoner can say, "Hey, I'm worried that this person's the goon. You pick them first, then I'll pick them."
But,
And then that person can say, "Hey, I'm the goon. You guys know I'm the goon.
Mhm.
I can't be the summoner choice. I would have lost, right?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, then people go, "Oh, okay. Well, that's not the demon." And then you kind of walk into the final 3 and win.
Counterpoint
so
to that,
I
though,
think-
put good rolls that can go before evil rolls too. So you've got to fight back and forth over the goon, over the summoner. It's like it's an interesting thing that I think would make for a fun script.
Right, but if the good hits them first, then they still turn into the evil demon.
Yes. So that's the other thing, right? So does good want to pick them? Does good not want to pick them?
Yeah.
It's like,
But I think you have to think about Night Order strongly if you're gonna do a goon
yeah, right.
summoner.
It's an advanced script where Night Order matters. Players need to know what's going on. I think it's fun. I just think people avoided it because it could be an instant loss for you.
Right, and that's the one where too. If the goon comes out day 1 and goes, "I'm the goon, kill me. I do not want to lose." Right?
Yeah, right.
Rather than saying, "Hey, I wake up, I'm evil, I lost."
They could have,
Um,
and that's the interesting thing. Depending on what roles are in play, they could just be evil that day too, and just lock it in evil, and you've got an evil vote for the rest of the game too. So, with no Spirit of Ivory in play, that's probably
not-
strong.
It's not completely bad. It's just got to be thought out.
Yeah. Another one we didn't see, Widow. Joe and I had a good conversation about Widow. If you're a player that gets a Widow ping, do you come out with it?
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's a good point.
Because there's a small chance that you become the demon, and now a new Widow ping goes out. And
Oopsie.
if you gave your Widow ping, you're automatically the demon. Also, it also gives evil a fun bluff to just say they got the Widow ping, and
On
paint
day
that
3,
person
right?
on day 3, it paints that person as the demon. They get a free kill. You create a confusion. I think Widow works really well with something.
What about
I think it's
Clockmaker? We didn't talk about that. I haven't seen it on a script. It seems like it was there, and now it's gone.
There's a good reason you don't see it on the script. I think that jinx has to exist for technical reasons. I don't think it's fun.
I think in general, Clockmaker is a broken, strong, like really powerful fucking start.
Clockmaker needs Vortox on the script for a very specific reason. It solves games really fast. In a 2 evil world, with summoners, Clockmaker doesn't get a number. So the Clockmaker, if there's no way for them, let's just assume a sober Clockmaker, right? You know it's a summoner game. So you're just waiting to hear that number. And now you're just off to the races. You have way more information to work with because players are dead. Stuff has happened. Like, it's just not a fun combo for the summoner. And if we're looking at scripts that are focused on summoner, it's not going to be on the script. I think that's all of them. We've went over Night Watchman, Gambler, Gossip, and Flower Girl. But yeah, I'd love to see more Widows, and I'd love to see more Gossips on scripts. I think they work really well. All
right, we're going to take like a... Okay, so Sandwiches, Hosey, and I have convened off screen. We talked through our favorite scripts. We came down, we actually had a unanimous top 3 that we really liked. But yeah, I think we all agree on which one we believe is the best script, right?
Put it up.
Out of our opinions. And we do believe the top 3 are all high quality scripts. If there was an absence of one, then, you know, one of the others would definitely have a shot. But honestly, we've all just kind of come together and decided that this script is the best summoner script. And it's Diamond Hands by Kinky Joe. Fucking best script that we could ever see on anything.
You guys thought you
I don't even know why we were here.
Can't compete with the best.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Appreciate all you. Okay, I'm just kidding.
So what is Joe going to win for this amazing script?
2 Kinky Joe hand jobs. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. No. All right, we're actually going to bring up our real winner, even though I would love to win everything in life. But together as a team, we do have a unanimous decision. We do have 3 scripts that we really liked. And this was our favorite, Makerspace by Josh K. We really like what Josh K did on this script. We like everything that he put together. We almost had no negatives for it. And it just kind of meets all of our expectations. The replayability is there. I didn't check if it's in SAO order. I'm going to have to fucking check right now. Let me hit the button. I have it up. Okay, lucky this time, Josh. But yeah, everything on here is interesting. I feel like if I was storytelling this, I'd have a lot of fun options to do. Like, there's just a lot going on. And I think he took our feedback from the original script that he did and did a lot of work with it. And just so you guys know, Hosey and Sandwiches put a lot of fucking time into looking at all of these scripts, and we appreciate that you guys took their feedback seriously so that we can get, you know, high quality scripts to play on this server going forward.
Yeah, I think anybody that took the time to make a script, I would play in any of those, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to do it. It's fun to get a look into what people want to do with scripts and what they want to, you know, play with. And I think it helps other people, as if they want to be a script maker, learn from those as well. So yeah. I think it's just a good process for everybody.
Hosian, our 2 runner-ups.
Am I announcing them?
Yeah, go
do
for
it.
Drop it.
All right. Our 2 runner-ups. Let me pull up the names. I just closed my tablet.
You don't remember the best scriptwriters of our server? That's all right. It was Collin. Collin had a script. The name is Dealer's Choice. Great script with the edits that you made, Collin. I really liked that one. And we also had Mist. Mist was a surprising, like the adjustments that were made or whatever he did on that one. Very good. We really liked all the changes there. We had a lot of, you know, fun thinking and kind of making up ideas on how we would build a script if we were storytelling, I should say.
Yep.
Build a Grim. So
if you're at the con, probably keep an eye out for these 3 scripts. We'll probably have them. I know I'll be printing them for me because I want to play and running them. So
and Josh K, Tuesday, if you're available, we'll make that your day. You're gonna run games all day with me. We're gonna run your script as much as we can, and probably some
That'll
TV.
Be fun. That'll be fun.
Okay. Well, fucking, you've sat here through a 3-hour video of us talking about scripts. You're fucking ridiculous. Like, don't do this to yourself. I know. Maybe this is background noise for you, and if that's the case, here's some ASMR for you. And if you want more, you should like and subscribe. And I'm Kinky Joe. Sandwiches. I don't know if he has a sign-off thing. And this is Hosian, the fucking all-seeing storyteller eyes. who keeps me in check when I'm having a little bit. There's a couple. All right. We appreciate you guys, whoever watched this, especially our friends from our server. I hope that they understand that our feedback was, strictly that. It's supposed to be supportive and helpful. Cool. Bye.